Hello everyone, I'm very glad that you listened to my story. Please give me a follow and like the video if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and provide feedback so I can improve the sound quality. Yes, we invite you to listen to part 8 of the series. Chapter 100, Chapter 100, Chapter 100, New Year's Painting Doll 1. Chapter 100, Chapter 100, New Year's Painting Doll 1. The next part was about preparing festive foods for the New Year celebration. Old Man Jiang and his wife were grinding beans at home to make tofu, and they poured out unseasoned soy milk for each child to taste. Chun Yang and her sister-in-law steamed buns and rice cakes for the festival together. Some of the buns were shaped into figures of cows, sheep, pigs, and rabbits, with red beans for eyes. They then painted red flowers on the white dough using sumac water, which looked very beautiful. In another large pot, they were cooking a full pot of sausages, pork trotters, and a pig's head. There was also a basin of ready stewed chicken with yellow beans, the delicious aroma of which could be smelled from afar. The happiest at this time must be the children because no reading and writing, no work, and they even get lucky money. On the first day of the new year, Chun Yang and Jiang Sanlang got up before daybreak, giving each sleepy child 2 pieces of cloud cakes, implying a cheerful and happy new year. After urging them to finish their cakes, the 2 of them went to the stove room to boil water for dumplings and glutinous rice balls, symbolizing a smooth and reunion new year. Yingbao knew that she shouldn't dawdle in bed at this time. She quickly got up, put on the new clothes and trousers her mother had set at the head of the bed the night before, put on the beautiful tiger head shoes, thought for a moment, and put on the tiger head hat as well. The new cotton-padded jacket was red with yellow flowers. A pattern of the 5 blessings was embroidered on the front and back, and a circle of white rabbit tails was sewn around the collar, soft and good-looking. Paired with green pants and a tiger head hat, Yingbao looked like little New Year's baby doll. After dressing up, Yingbao went to wake up Xiaojie and Xiaowu, dressed them, put on their shoes and hats, and dragged them to wash up. Come and eat dumplings. Chun Yang brought a pot of dumplings from the kitchen and put it on the large table in the hall, then went to bring a few bowls of rice balls. Each bowl only contained 4, symbolizing everything going as one wishes. The family sat around the large table, eating rice balls and dumplings. After the meal, Chun Yang gave Yingbao 2 small silver ingots, each weighing roughly 1 tael, and also gave one to each of her twin sons. Yingbao and her 2 younger brothers knelt down to salute and wish their parents a happy new year. Receiving the silver ingots, the twins were overjoyed and wanted to rush out to show off to brother Huzi. Chun Yang quickly grabbed them. Let your mother save the New Year's money for you. You won't find it if you lose it outside. Xiaowu immediately refused. No. I won't lose it. Xiaojie echoed. No, it won't be lost. We'll keep it in our pockets. What if it's lost? These 2 little guys must be crazy. Since when did pockets ever serve to hold things? Shall your mother put some candies in your pockets instead? No, no. The 2 little guys struggled, finally escaping from their mother's claws. Jiang Sanlang saw his wife's annoyance and laughed. Let them go. What were 2 taels of silver after all? If lost, they could search it. Next, the family of 5 went to Jiang Dalong's house to celebrate the new year, and Yingbao and her younger brothers received here another wave of lucky money. Xiaowu stuffed his New Year's money into his sister's hand for safekeeping. Seeing this, Xiaojie also handed all of his lucky money to his sister. To keep. He sneaked a glance at his mother, worried that she might come for it. Then, a few boys took out the leather ball Yingbao had bought, divided into 2 teams to play soccer, so engrossed they didn't even have time to eat. The next day, Chun Yang and her husband took their 3 children back home to celebrate the new year. The Su village wasn't far from Dongchen village, but it wasn't close either, being about 7 or 8 miles away. The eldest nephew, Jiang Cheng, first drove the cart to send Uncle San's family, then hurried back to take his parents and siblings to celebrate the new year at his uncle's house. Chun Yang had a brother and a sister. Her father passed away early, and after her younger sister got married, her widowed mother, Old Lady Su, was living with her only son, Suda. Old Lady Su was looking forward to them from early in the morning by the door. Seeing her eldest daughter's mule cart arrive at the entrance to the village, she jogged over to greet them. Oh, my dear grandsons. Old Lady Su hugged Xiaojie and Xiaowu tightly, beaming with joy. Yingbao calls out, Grandma. Ah. The old lady Su puts down her two grandsons and picks up her granddaughter. My baby has grown so big. Ing Bao hugs her grandma's neck and laughs. Bao Bao is 4 years old now. Indeed, time does fly. Bao Bao is 4 already. Su Chunyang takes Ing Bao back home. The two little grandsons behind her are shouting, "Grandma, put sister down quickly. We want to kowtow to greet you for the new year." All right. Su Chunyang puts Ing Bao down and leads the 3 children indoors. Su Chunyang and her husband come in with big and small bags, distributing gifts to the brothers, sisters-in-law, and the nephews and nieces. "Mom, this piece of cloth is made from cotton. It's so soft and without any coloring. You can use it to make an undershirt. And this Rami fabric, it has a nice color. Just make it into a dress yourself." It is not that Chunyang doesn't want to make it for her dear mother, but Lady Su likes to do it herself, saying that a garment made by herself is more fitting and comfortable. Lady Su happily felt the fabric. "Chunyang, what do you need so much fabric for? I am already living simply, where do I need these new clothes? Don't utter such words, you are going to live until 99, why should you not wear new clothes?" Chunyang took out a silver ingot weighing 5 taels and a copper coin and stuffed them into the old lady. "This is for the upkeep of your son-in-law." Seeing the copper coin, old Lady Su widened her eyes and promptly tried to decline. "Oh, why are you giving me so much money? I don't go anywhere, no need to spend any silver. Just keep it." Chunyang insisted and gave it to the old lady. "You are an elder, how can you not have any money? The children at home still need money for the new year, and Dania's wife is coming soon, how could it be acceptable if you don't have any gift to present to her? Daniu is Suda's eldest son, 16 this year, and he is getting married in few months." Lady Su couldn't persuade them to take it back, so she finally accepted the silver coins. Since her husband passed away, she had been relying on her eldest son, and didn't really have much spare money. Even on festivals or holidays when her 2 daughters occasionally gave her some private money, she would always use them for the children instead. At this moment, Suda's wife walks into the room and Chunyang quickly takes the 2 pieces of cloth and hands them over. "Elder sister-in-law, this is the cloth I bought for you and elder brother." Suda's wife gratefully accepts and laughs. "Ah, you are causing Chunyang to spend again. Nonsense, you take care of mother at home. I haven't even thanked you." Chunyang puts 4 packets of candies and snacks on the table, as well as hats and combs for her nieces and nephews. Nowadays men also wear flowers, very colorful silk ones. Chunyang brought some for all her nieces and nephews. She pulls over Ing Bao and the 2 boys. "This is your great-aunt, quickly wish her a happy new year." Ing Bao and 2 brothers loudly say, "Great-aunt, happy new year, may everything go well." It's all good. Suda's wife takes out the prepared lucky money from her pocket, about 10 coins, and distributes it to the 3 children. Ing Bao and her brothers accept, graciously kowtowing to their great-aunt. Suda's wife holds the fabric and laughs. "Your second sister-in-law will be back soon too. Elder sister, you chat with mother for a while, I will go and cook." "All right, thank you elder sister-in-law." Chunyang gets up to see her out. At this point, 3 children run into the room, all from elder brother's family. From oldest to youngest, they are the 16-year-old nephew, the 12-year-old niece, and the 8-year-old nephew. "Wishing a happy new year to our great-aunt." The 3 children kneel in a row and kowtow to Chunyang. Chunyang laughs and gives out 10 coins as New Year money to each of them, and hands them the purchased combs and hair accessories. "Thank you, great-aunt." The 3 children thank her, then happily run out with the money. Suddenly, you hear laughter from outside. "Elder brother-in-law is here this early, where's elder sister? Why didn't I see her?" Then the curtain is lifted, and Su Chunyang walks in. "Oh! What is elder sister doing hiding in the room? Why doesn't she help elder sister-in-law with the cooking?" Chapter 101, Chapter 101, Chapter 101, The poor are in the right, thank you for the additional votes, babies. Chapter 101, Chapter 101, The poor are in the right, thank you for the additional votes, babies. Su Chunyang was speaking when her gaze fell upon a large bamboo basket full of gifts on the floor. Her heart sank. My elder sister really has become wealthy, she brought so many things home this time. Sigh, we really can't compare to my elder sister. Old Lady Su reprimanded, "What are you talking about? These are for your uncles. Old Lady Su's two brothers lived in the neighboring village. Every year, Chunyang would visit her two uncles to wish them a happy new year and present them with some modest gifts as a token of her regard. What fortune! We're just managing to feed ourselves. Chunyang pulled her children closer. Wish your aunt a happy new year. Yingbao stepped forward to pay her respects. Aunt, happy new year. Xiaojie and Xiaowu followed. Aunt, happy new year. All good, all good. Su Chunyang pulled out 2 coins from her sleeve, giving one to Xiaojie and the other to Xiaowu. Go buy some sweets. Don't think it's too little, your aunt is not as well off as your mother now. Chunyang felt unhappy seeing her sister not giving any New Year's money to her daughter, but she didn't say anything. Old Lady Su couldn't keep a straight face, hurriedly took out 20 coins and gave them to Yingbao. Good girl, this is the New Year's money from your grandma. She also gave 20 coins each to Xiaojie and Xiaowu. Su Chunyang raised an eyebrow in surprise. Mother, why are you giving so much to the children? I gave you 200 coins, surely you're not spending all of it on my elder sister's children. Old Lady Su ignored her second daughter and pulled Yingbao up to sit on the Kong. Good girl, it's warm up here. The 2 brothers also climbed onto the Kong and sat with their sister. Seeing that her mother wasn't paying attention to her, Su Chunyang stomped out of the room, calling from outside, Jean Jean. You. Hurry over and wish your grandma a happy new year. Grandma is giving out New Year's money. In a little while, 2 children ran in. The 8 or 9-year-old boy was Qian Jin, and the 6-year-old girl was Qian Yu. Su Chunyang pushed the 2 children forward. Go and ask your great aunt for New Year's money. And your grandmother will also give you New Year's money. Qian Jin was puzzled. Hasn't Grandma already given us New Year's money? What does she give? Grandma gave you 10 coins this morning, you still need 10 more, Su Chunyang said. At these words, Old Lady Su was so angry she nearly fell over, but since she was the one who had made the mistake, she didn't say anything. Chunyang was unhappy, but she didn't want to argue with a child, so she took out 20 coins and divided them between Qian Jin and Qian Yu. Qian Jin and Qian Yu were clever children. They paid their respects to their great aunt, may you get rich in the new year. Then they turned to their grandmother. Grandma, you still owe us 10 coins of New Year's money. What could Old Lady Su do? She had to take out 20 coins and divide them between the 2. This second daughter was spoiled by her father from a young age. Not only was she willful, but also extremely selfish, always wanting to compete with her elder sister over everything. Only when Su Chunyang saw that her mother had given her children additional New Year's money, she finally became satisfied. Elder sister, since your family has planted the golden ear and become rich, why don't you help out your parents' home a bit? As for me, your little sister, that's one thing, but you don't even bother to help out our elder brother. It's really true, a woman's heart leans outward. Once married, she doesn't care about her own family. Chunyang didn't want to bother arguing with her, so she didn't respond. Last year she had already suggested to her elder brother and his wife that they also plant the golden ear, but her elder brother was a bit slow. He was only consumed by thoughts of farming and had no interest in planting the golden ear. What could Chunyang do? She couldn't exactly just give them money directly. What are you saying? If it wasn't New Year, Old Lady Su would have already reprimanded her second daughter. How come your elder sister doesn't help your elder brother? Your elder sister already gave 5 taels of silver for Daniel's engagement last time. What did you give? Oh, listen to you. Isn't it because we don't have money? If we had, wouldn't we give? Su Chunyang curled her lips. If I had money, why would I give only 5 taels? I'd give at least 50 taels. Yingbao, sitting on the Kong, was beginning to feel uncomfortable with the conversation. It seems that whoever is poorer is in the wrong. My aunt didn't hesitate to criticize my mother in the past, saying it was because she picked up a useless girl and raised her for someone else's family that we were poor. If it were her, she would have sold the girl earlier and earned a few taels of silver. Seeing that her older sister and mother remained silent, Su Chunyang became more emboldened. Pointing at Yingbao she said, your older brother isn't helping you, but you're raising a bastard who doesn't know his parents. You really do have money to burn. Before she could finish speaking, Su Chunyang received a hefty slap to the face from Chunyang. With an icy expression, Chunyang said coldly, Chunyang, let me tell you, if you dare slander my Bao Bao like that again, our two families will have nothing to do with each other. You hit me. Su Chunyang covered her slapped cheek, staring incredulously at her older sister. Because of a foundling bastard, girl, you dare hit me. I'll say it again, Ing Bao is my own daughter. If you insult her, it's the same as insulting me. Is it not right that I'm allowed to hit you? Chunyang had always tolerated her only sister, but she never expected her sister to disrespect her more and more. A few years back, she would ridicule me for my inability to procreate. She would say that I must have committed severe sins in my past life, which is why I am unable to have offsprings in this lifetime. Now that she has nothing more to say, she continuously belittles me with her words in order to showcase her own superiority. Chunyang couldn't understand what she had done to deserve such treatment from her only sister. Su Chunyang, with her hand still covering her face, looked at their elderly mother. Seeing her turn her head away, Chunyang couldn't hold back tears, and she cried out loud and ran out of the hut. The old lady Su bit her teeth in anger. This silly girl, she's always been foul-mouthed. She'll never change. Chunyang was also displeased. The sisters were making a scene during the New Year's festival. It was very embarrassing. Jiang Sanlang lifted the curtain and entered, asking, "What's going on?" "Nothing." Chunyang didn't dare to mention the matter in front of her husband. "It's good that you're here, let's divide up what's in the basket. We should take it to my uncle's place." "Oh," Jiang Sanlang agreed, and divided up the gifts with his wife. They then took Ing Bao and their two sons to give New Year's gifts to the two uncles. The uncles' homes were not far from the Su family. They arrived within a quarter of an hour. The two uncles, after receiving the New Year's gifts, insisted on hosting a meal, but they were politely declined by Chunyang. The family of five then returned to Su Da's house. Surprisingly, Su Chunyang hadn't left either. She sat by the large dining table with a frosty expression. "Big girl, set the table." Su Da's wife, seeing her sister-in-law and her family coming back, called her daughter from the kitchen to clean the table and serve the dishes. "Okay," the big girl responded, placing a stack of bowls and chopsticks on the table. Su Da got Jiang Sanlang to sit at the table, then called Qian Jiu, his younger sister's husband, to come over and sit down too. Qian Jiu had a sour expression, sweeping his gaze over Jiang Sanlang in a very spiteful manner. The atmosphere was tense during the meal, and Jiang Sanlang only had a few sips of alcohol with his brother-in-law before refusing to drink any more. However, Qian Jiu just kept drinking, his face flushing red and froth started to appear at the corners of his mouth. "You look down on me." Qian Jiu suddenly slammed the table, pointing at Jiang Sanlang and started cursing, "Just because you have some bloody money. You dare look down on." Jiang Sanlang completely ignored this man, finishing his meal quickly. Then he stood up and said to Chunyang, "Let's go home." Chunyang nodded, holding hands with her children who had already finished their meal. Qian Jiu also stood up, staggering over. Su Da caught him, asking, "What are you doing, brother-in-law? Don't worry about me." Qian Jiu violently brushed off Su Da and pointing at Jiang Sanlang he said, "If it weren't for you, me and Chunyang." "Shut up." Jiang Sanlang could no longer restrain himself. He punched Qian Jiu right in the face. Chapter 102, Chapter 102, Chapter 102, Premeditated Murder. Chapter 102, Chapter 102, Premeditated Murder. Ing Bao was utterly shocked. Her father just started fighting with Qian Jiu out of the blue. No, it was more like her father was single-handedly thrashing Qian Jiu. Qian Jiu was eventually beaten until blood covered his face, and Uncle Su Da hurriedly dragged him into the house for cleaning. Su Chunyang was crying incessantly, but she didn't dare to intervene between Jiang Sanlang and Chunyang. On their way home, Jiang Sanlang used a bamboo basket to carry the twins, while Chunyang carried Ing Bao. All five of them didn't say a word. As they reached midway, they ran into Jiang Cheng who had come to meet them. "Uncle San, how did you hurt your hand?" Jiang Cheng asked. Only then did Jiang Sanlang notice a cut on his hand that had dried blood on it. Chunyang was very worried. Self-reproachful, she felt it was totally unjustifiable for her not to have noticed her husband's wound. "It's nothing, just a minor skin scrape." Jiang Sanlang touched his hand and reassured his wife, "It's not my blood." Ing Bao also came over to check, and seeing that her father was indeed fine, she finally felt at ease. Upon returning home, Ingbao washed her hands and face and went back to her room to rest. The fight between her father and Qian Jiu today was expected. In her previous life, they had fought more fiercely. Qian Jiu had even lost 2 teeth. When the Qian family and the Su family were arranging a marriage years ago, it was originally decided that Chunyang, the eldest daughter, would be the bride for Qian Jiu. But somehow, Qian Jiu suddenly decided to marry the second daughter, Su Qianyang, privately. As a result, the elder sister and younger sister swapped roles in marriage. In the end, Chunyang married the poor boy Jiang Sanlang from Dongchen village, while Su Qianyang, the second girl, married the relatively well-off Qian Jiu. Originally, this was an indecent act by Qian Jiu and Qianyang, but instead of feeling remorse, they proudly flaunted their happiness in front of Chunyang. However, ever since Chunyang gave birth to twins and their life improved, Qian Jiu became increasingly dissatisfied with his wife and felt that his wife was much less capable than Chunyang. Because of this, Chunyang grew to resent her elder sister more and wished the worse for her. She eagerly wished that her sister would forever remain stuck in the mud and live a life that was never better than hers. So the sisterly affection was almost absent after their marriages. As soon as the second day of the new year was over, the Jiang family began to entertain their relatives and friends who visited for New Year's greetings. However, these did not affect Ingbao or her young brother. Whenever the boys of the family had spare time, they would go to the threshing ground in the village to play football. Ingbao would ride her deer to the house of clan leader Chen to see Chen Sailang. Chen Zhu could already sit up straight. He was pleased when Ingbao arrived and called his son Xiaoyao to greet his sister. Ingbao inspected his wound and saw that it had essentially healed. She nodded approvingly. "You can start walking around now. Constant lying in bed is detrimental to your recovery." "All right." Chen Zhu had come to treat this child as a real doctor. Very respectfully he responded. Ingbao then asked Tang family's Granny Tang, "Aunt Tang, how have you been feeling lately? Do you still experience dizziness and blurred vision?" Granny Tang chuckled, "Not after I ate your medicine. I feel much better now. I no longer have dizziness, numbness in my limbs, and my mobility has improved tremendously." Maintain this condition. You must pay close attention to your daily diet, avoid consuming rice porridge and sweets. You also have to abstain from pickles, engage in more physical activities, avoid sitting for a long period, and get up slowly. Granny Wen said, "Many elders suffer from cerebral strokes because they abruptly stood after sitting or squatting for a prolonged time." "All your instructions will be heeded," Granny Tang responded with a beaming smile. Leaving the clan leader's house, Ingbao mounted her deer and leisurely made her way to the threshing ground. The boys from the Jiang family were all playing football there. She was planning to walk back home with them later. The time flew by, and in a blink of an eye, it was already the 15th of the first lunar month. Ingbao was about to discuss with her parents about the trip to the county town. Suddenly, she heard a commotion in the courtyard. Upon going out, she saw 2 constables wielding sticks pulling and lugging her father, Jiang Sanlang, out. Chunyang screamed in shock, "Why are you arresting my husband?" One constable replied, "Someone accused Jiang Sanlang of assault. The county magistrate ordered us to arrest him. Anyone unrelated should stand aside at once." Ingbao toddled out quickly and said to Chunyang, "Mother, let's go with them." She had to go to the county town with her father to find out what was going on. In her previous life, her father had never been arrested by the government office. Chunyang also reacted, hurriedly hitching up the mule cart. Sun Liqing, who brought the constable, seeing the Jiang family in a panic, comforted them. "The county magistrate is just taking him for questioning. If your third brother has done nothing wrong, he will be released soon." Chunyang wasn't reassured at all, for she couldn't forget the scar on her husband's shoulder. "Sister-in-law, you stay at home to look after the children, I'll go." Jiang Erlang was also a little flustered and hurriedly took over the reins of the mule cart. Jiang Lu and Zhang's sister-in-law also tried to persuade Chunyang, "Even if you go, it won't make a difference. Let Erlang go." Chunyang shook her head, "I must go, please sister-in-law help me look after Xiaojie and Xiaowu." How could she stay at home calmly waiting for news while her husband was arrested? Me too." Ingbao hugged her uncle's leg, "I want to go." She knew the newly appointed county magistrate, surely she could say a few words for the family. Moreover, this matter definitely concerned her and was related to the Han family's Han. Jiang Erlang knew what was going on. He also knew that his niece was saved by the county magistrate, so bringing her along might be helpful, so he picked up Ing Bao and put her on the mule cart. Then Jiang Erlang drove the cart, with his sister-in-law and niece followed the government official's cart. In the afternoon, the mule cart entered the county town. The constable took Jiang Erlang back to the government office, and said to Jiang Erlang, who had followed all the way, "The magistrate will open court to hear the case tomorrow. You can come and listen to the hearing in the morning." "Thank you for the information, big brother." Jiang Erlang thanked the constable, and took his sister-in-law and young niece to Gao's shop in. The innkeeper still remembered the little girl. He registered their information and led them to the upstairs. Early the next morning, Chun Yang and Ing Bao got up and went downstairs to wash up and saw Erlang was already downstairs. Beside him stood a graceful lady. The lady was holding a large tin pot, pouring hot water for Erlang. "Sister Yenru." Ing Bao ran over, looked up at Erlang, then glanced at Yenru. Today, Sister Yenru's makeup was delicate and elegant, as if she had carefully dressed up, yet it didn't appear contrived. In short, she looked very beautiful. Yenru touched Ing Bao's head, smilingly said, "Bao Bao, I'm so glad to see you again." Ing Bao thought to herself, "It's not me you're glad to see, I bet it's my uncle Erlang. Why is Sister Yenru in the inn?" This Yenru was neither an employee nor a worker of the inn, but she showed up here early in the morning, even brought hot water for Erlang. Ing Bao didn't believe there wasn't something sneaky going on. Didn't she see that the inn staff were keeping their distance from her? Surely the innkeeper's wife had instructed them to. There was a momentary embarrassment on Yenru's face. She stole a glance at Jiang Erlang and whispered, "The innkeeper is out on business today, so his wife asked me to help at the inn." Jiang Erlang was experienced, and could easily see the lady's interest in him. He turned his head and coughed lightly. "Ing Bao, hurry up and wash, we have to go to the government office." Ing Bao blinked, washed and brushed her teeth with her mother, and then made another trip to the toilet. When the three of them arrived at the government office, they saw two indifferent officials sitting inside the main gate, leering at them. Ing Bao jumped off the mule cart and stood at the entrance of the government office, peering inside. Oh my God! She hadn't taken a close look at the government office last time. But looking at it this time, she could sum it up in 3 words: old, dilapidated, and shabby. The government office didn't even have a main gate. Although it also had brick walls, the roof was covered with thatch, which was already in a state of disrepair. The wild grass growing in the cracks of the steps to the office was now withered and yellow, giving an even more desolate appearance. "Uncle, a weasel." Ing Bao pointed at the small animal that ran away quickly and shouted, "2 of them." Jiang Erlang glanced over, not surprised at all. Although this was the county government office, besides the magistrate and the officials, there was no reason for the common people to come here, not to mention merchants. Over time, this place became deserted. Moreover, the magistrate served his term for 3 or 4 years and then left, who would be a fool to pay out of their own pocket for its renovation. As long as it could provide shelter from wind and rain, the magistrate and his family would just live in the backyard and deal with it. Chapter 103, Chapter 103, Chapter 103, The Thief's Heart Never Dies. Chapter 103, Chapter 103, The Thief's Heart Never Dies. A servant in blue clothes came out from the inner yard, saw the 3 people by the mule cart, glanced around and saw that no one was watching, and immediately beckoned Ing Bao over. Ing Bao immediately ran over, looking up and asking, "Uncle Wu, is Uncle Wu inside?" "He is in the back hall discussing business." Wu Rui led her to one side and quietly warned her, "There are 2 people with the surname Chen accusing your father of attempted murder. If your father has an alibi, this will be a minor issue." Ing Bao understood immediately and nodded, "My dad is a good person, he would never commit a murder." Wu Rui, "I can only say this much, hurry up, in another hour the court will begin hearing the case." "Thank you Uncle Wu." Ing Bao ran back and relayed Wu Rui's words to her mother and second uncle. Upon hearing this, Jiang Erlang immediately said, "I have to go back and find a witness. You take Ing Bao and stay here, don't wander off." Chun Yan held her daughter's little hand tightly. "All right." Jiang Erlang unloaded the mule cart, jumped onto the mule, and galloped away. Not long after, government officials came to take up their posts, followed by clerks and other personnel. The county magistrate also arrived, accompanied by 2 sword-bearing guards. Chao Kan, in his 30s, glanced over the mother and daughter, then took another few looks at Chun Yen. Ing Bao recognized at a glance that this was Chao Kan, Chen Guanglu's superior. If he presided over the case today, her father would certainly suffer. What to do? Perhaps they should hire a lawyer to help them with their case. Ing Bao looked around, her gaze landing on a lane in the distance. She remembered that in her previous life there was a very famous lawyer living in that lane. Mother, we should hire a lawyer. Ing Bao tugged at her mother's sleeve. Ms. Wen said that if we have a lawyer to help us with a lawsuit, we are sure to win. Chun Yen looked at a loss. What's a lawyer? Having been raised in a rural area and the farthest place she had been was this county town, how could she know what a lawyer was? Follow me. Ing Bao knew it would take a long time to explain, and there was no time to lose, so she simply pulled her mother and ran towards that lane. Entering the lane, Ing Bao was a bit dumbfounded. This row of dilapidated yards and old houses, she didn't know where the lawyer actually lived. Adding up the time, that lawyer should be less than 30 years old this year, she didn't know if he was famous or not. What was his name again? Oh, it seemed to be Mr. Song Wenyu. Approaching a house, she saw a few kids playing at the door, so she asked, "Can you tell me where Mr. Song Wenyu lives?" The children looked at each other, and shook their heads in unison. Don't know. Ing Bao was not discouraged and continued to ask as they walked along. Finally, she asked an older man, "Uncle, do you know where Song Wenyu's house is?" The man looked at the little girl, then glanced again at Chun Yen who was following her, and instantly grinned, showing his yellow teeth. In the house, in the house. Ing Bao looked at him doubtfully, feeling that this man was a bit unreliable, so she asked again, "I am asking about Song Wenyu who helps people with lawsuits. Do you know him, uncle?" I know, he's lying in the house right now." Da Wang said, "I am his father, how could I not know him?" Ing Bao was still doubtful. Looking around and seeing someone looking this way, she hurriedly ran over to ask, "Uncle, do you know Song Wenyu?" The man pointed at Da Wang. "That's his father. His 4th son's leg was broken a few days ago and is lying in the house." Following Chun Yen frowned, she whispered, "Bao, is that Song Wenyu really a lawyer?" "Yes." After confirming that Da Wang was indeed Song Wenyu's father, Ing Bao dared to follow him into the house. Chun Yen tightly gripped her daughter's hand, warily scanning her surroundings. Upon entering the dilapidated thatched hut, they were immediately hit by a musty, rotten smell. In the dimly lit room, there seemed to be a person leaning against the cot by the window. Ing Bao carefully assessed the man, who was also sizing them up. Da Wang ran to the bedside with excitement and said, "Hey, 4th, your old flame brought her kid to see you." Chuan Yang's face darkened instantly. Ing Bao loudly corrected him, "We are here to ask for Mr. Song Wenyu's help with our lawsuit. Uncle, please don't speak nonsense." She had recognized that the young man leaning against the head of the cot was Song Wenyu. The most apparent sign was, of course, the large mole in the middle of his forehead. It was said that because of this mole, Song Wenyu could only attain the title of scholar. To repay his father's gambling debts, he initially wrote statements for others, but later became a lawyer. The young man put down his book and asked, "What is the lawsuit that you want me to help with? Speak freely." Seeing potential business arrive, Da Wang no longer annoyed his son, and cheerfully opened the window to brighten up the room. Ing Bao recounted the feud between her family and the Chen family. In conclusion, she said, "Now the Chen family falsely accuses my father of assault and turned him into the county magistrate. Yesterday, they detained my father at the county government. I wish to seek Mr. Song's help to defend my father's innocence and, if possible, I would like to file a counter-complaint accusing them of hiring thugs to kidnap a child." Song Wenyu thought for a moment, then nodded, "I can help you with the lawsuit, but my fee will be 20 taels of silver." "No problem." Ing Bao replied instantly, "But if we lose, I can only afford to pay you 2 taels. "Fine." Song Wenyu stated, "Then you must also guarantee that every word you tell me is the truth, otherwise, I demand the full 20 taels. "Aha, I assure you that every word I say is true." The Han family was the principal instigator in hiring the thugs, and the young Han woman personally took me to Zhouhe County. Later, she gave 2 taels of silver to the members of the Chen family of Zhouhe County and had them guard me. Who would have thought that they'd still be trying to harm my father now? After Ing Bao finished speaking at once, she asked, "Mr. Song, when will you be able to go? The county government will begin its trial in just over an hour's time. Give me half an hour to prepare the complaint." Song Wenyu sat up and loudly called for his father to bring him his pen, ink, paper, and inkstone. Da Huang responded from outside and hurried in. "Ing Bao, in that case, my mother and I will wait for you outside the county government. Our donkey cart is parked over there too, you can meet us there." "Okay, you two go ahead." Song Wenyu then focused on preparing the complaint. Upon leaving the Song residence, Ing Bao and Chun Yen hurried back to the county government office. Chun Yen had many doubts she wanted to ask her daughter, but before she could ask, her attention was drawn by the sudden appearance of a few people. She saw Chen Guanglu leaning on a crutch, being supported by his wife, Han, as he was glaring at them maliciously. Chen Chongping and his wife had also arrived, standing together with Chen Guanglu and his wife. Chuan Yen's face darkened as she carried Ing Bao and moved them further away from those people. Half an hour later, Song Wenyu arrived on a bamboo chair carried by his father, Song Dia. After submitting his complaint to the officials, he joined Chun Yen and Ing Bao. "I have already submitted the complaint. After a while, follow me in." Song Wenyu signaled to Ing Bao. This little girl, though young, is very smart and eloquent, much stronger than her mother. Therefore, he wanted to bring her into the courtroom. "Is the Wu official who saved you really the newly appointed county magistrate?" Song Wenyu asked. Ing Bao, "Yes, but we don't know if Uncle Wu will be willing to testify for us. Unless Wu Daozi himself was willing, it wouldn't be suitable for them to ask him to testify." Song Wenyu laughed. "I was just confirming. If they had the help of the newly appointed county magistrate, he was sure to win this lawsuit." Bang. 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 The mighty sound of the court gong began to echo. One by one, the government officials filed into the courtroom. The voice of the county magistrate thundered from the hall, "Bring the plaintiffs before the court." Chapter 104, Chapter 104, Chapter 104, Unable to beat. Chapter 104, Chapter 104, Unable to beat. The plaintiffs were Chen Guanglu and his wife, Chen Chongping. They were summoned into the court hall, followed shortly by the arrival of Jiang Sanlang, escorted by a government official. Upon noticing this, Chun Yang hurriedly followed, cradling their daughter in her arms. Song Wenyu had already submitted the complaint to the county scribe and also followed, carried by his father in a bamboo chair. Ing Bao looked over at her father. Seeing that he hadn't been tortured, she gave a sigh of relief. However, upon seeing the county magistrate Chao Can presiding on the courtroom dais, her heart once again filled with dread. As Chen Guanglu's superior, who also regarded him with high esteem, Ing Bao found it hard to believe that Chao Can would be impartial in this matter. Chao Can pounded the gavel and commanded, "The accused, state your name." "This humble one is Jiang Sanlang, greetings to the official." Jiang Sanlang responded with a bow of respect. "Chen Chongping and his wife, Chen Guanglu, allege that you had intentionally assaulted them. Do you plead guilty?" "I do not." "Ha! With both witness testimony and hard evidence against you, yet you still refuse to admit your crimes. Are you provoking this official to administer corporal punishment?" demanded Chao Can. Jiang Sanlang retorted, "How could I admit to something I didn't do?" Chen Guanglu sneered, "You didn't do it. Fine, I remember stabbing your shoulder. Why don't you show the official your shoulder wound?" Turning his head, Jiang Sanlang countered, "Didn't you see it last night, Captain Chen? You even had someone jab my shoulder with a wooden stick. I now realize you merely intended to fabricate false evidence." The scar on his shoulder had long vanished, rubbed away with fine particles of gold that they owned, leaving only a faint trace barely noticeable. He had heard his daughter mention once that her birthmark had been rubbed away with gold, so he decided to give it a try. Amazingly, the scar disappeared. However, on the previous night, Chen Guanglu had two men forcibly strip him to inspect his shoulder. Seeing no scar, Chen Guanglu unexpectedly had someone jab a wooden stick into his shoulder, creating a flesh wound. Nonsense! Chen Guanglu bellowed, "You audacious commoner, how dare you slander me government court?" "Whether it's slander or not will be clear once we take a closer look," interjected Song Wenyu. "Jiang Sanlang, why not show your shoulder to the official?" Song Wenyu had not yet had the chance to communicate with Jiang Sanlang and was not aware of the injury on his shoulder. However, he believed that this calm-faced man was telling the truth. Unconcerned about the presence of women in court, Jiang Sanlang removed his shirt to reveal his badly injured shoulder. Seeing this, Chun Yang cried aloud, tears streaming down her face. Ing Bao was furious and deeply concerned about her father. She wanted to use Wadingzi to treat him, but knew it was not the right time. Song Wenyu stepped forward to examine the wound, clicking his tongue. This is clearly a fresh wound. Captain Chen, did you really have this man injured? Nonsense. An enraged Qin Guanglu responded, and who might you be, daring to slander the headman in court? Song Wenyu pulled out a piece of paper from his sleeve. I have been enlisted by the Jiang family to exonerate Jiang Sanlang and seek justice for him. My petition has been submitted, and this is my letter of representation. If Captain Chen believes that he's been slandered, then let the medical examiner inspect Jiang Sanlang's wound, to determine whether it is a fresh wound inflicted by a wooden stick, or an old injury from over a month ago. Chen Guanglu's face darkened. Last night, he did indeed have Jiang Sanlang jabbed, partly to vent his frustration, but more importantly, to manufacture evidence that could be used in his favor when Chao Can arrived. He had not expected that Jiang's family would hire a lawyer to defend them. With this lawyer's arrival, many things were bound to surface. After all, the newly appointed county magistrate wasn't a pushover. The entire case would be scrutinized in detail. Should any oversight or mistakes occur, Chao Can would also be held accountable. County Magistrate Chao Can did not anticipate Qin Guanglu would resort to such measures. Now, even if he wanted to show partiality, he dared not do so blatantly. Banging the gavel, he commanded, bring in the medical examiner to assess the injury. Shortly thereafter, the medical examiner arrived to assess Jiang Sanlang's wounds. After the examination, he reported, Official Chao, this man has a fresh wound from a blunt instrument, the skin and flesh have turned outwards. It appears to be an injury caused by a bamboo arrow or wooden stick. Upon hearing this, Chao Can's brows furrowed. He dismissed the medical examiner and turned to Chen Guanglu. What do you have to say about this? He really wished the fool knew when to hold his tongue. Chen Guanglu flatly denied it. I didn't do it. Song Wenyu immediately stepped forward. Official Chao, why not summon the jail keeper on duty last night for questioning? Then we can determine whether Captain Chen did or did not go to the county jail. Besides, there were other prisoners in the jail, too. We could ask them as well. If Qin Guanglu wanted to keep his actions hidden, he would have had to bribe all the jail keepers and all the prisoners at the county jail. If he was incapable of doing so, then his underhand dealings would not remain hidden. Not everyone would be willing to do Qin Guanglu's bidding. Chao Can didn't want this case to involve too many people. Avoiding Song Wenyu's question, he instead turned to Jiang Sanlang and asked, Defendant Jiang Sanlang, since you claim to be innocent, do you have any witnesses to support your defense? Jiang Sanlang asked, what kind of witness does the official require? One that can prove you were not present at the scene on the day of the incident. I do. After the court adjourned that day, I left the city with my family and returned to the work site by the river that same night. My family can testify to this, as can my co-workers. He had foreseen this day and had already asked several co-workers from his village to vouch for him. He was unafraid of the government's inquiries. The matriarch of the Han family stepped forward. You're lying. The criminal who broke into the Chen residence that day had his face covered, but his physique was unmistakable. It was you, Jiang Sanlang. Official, you must serve us justice. Song Wenyu interjected, that is merely your own conjecture, and all based on speculation. If you truly believed that Jiang Sanlang was the perpetrator, why didn't you apprehend him on the spot? There are several of you in the Chen household. Jiang Sanlang doesn't have 3 heads and 6 arms, nor is he a martial arts expert. How could he fight 4 to 5 people on his own? We were not together at the time. My husband and I were peacefully at home when suddenly, a man barged in and started attacking us. The matriarch of the Han family feigned grievance. My husband and I barely had time to react. Chen Guanglu added, indeed, his strength is astonishing. Ordinary people stand no chance against him. Yes, he kept punching my face and head. We didn't have the strength to fight back, echoed Qin Changping. Song Wenyu smirked, then turned to ask Qin Guanglu, it's understandable if Qin Changping couldn't hold his own, being a mild-mannered scholar, he isn't accustomed to fighting. However, Captain Chen, you're one of the best fighters in the county office. Why couldn't you overpower a peasant like him? Are you implying that Jiang Sanlang possesses some kind of martial arts skills, or that he had help? Chen Guanglu's expression darkened. He was indeed no match for Jiang Sanlang. Even pulling out a dagger offered him no defense against the man's fists. Even though he had stabbed the men with his dagger, Jiang Sanlang reacted as if he felt no pain, and had retaliated by kicking him in the leg, breaking his shin bone. His leg was essentially ruined now. He estimated that this would result in the loss of his headman position. His humiliation and anger were immeasurable. Without his position as headman, who would fear him? In the past, he incurred many grudges on behalf of Cao Can. Once abandoned by Cao Can, Chen Guanglu believed his life would be perpetually in danger. Of course he had help. In his confusion, Chen Guanglu blurted out, that day, he and his two brothers were the ones who committed the crime. It was common knowledge that the Jiang family had 3 brothers, so it was not impossible that they had committed the crime together. Given the circumstances, it would not have been unreasonable for him not to have seen the other culprit since his head was covered in a sack at the time. Chapter 105, Chapter 105, Chapter 105, 3 Fires. Chapter 105, Chapter 105, 3 Fires. The county magistrate spun his eyes and quickly threw out a green arrest warrant. Bring the Jiang brothers here, he ordered. Yes, responded the arrest officer, grabbing the green arrest warrant and leaving the court with several government officials for Chuana town. Song Wenyu wasn't in any hurry. He suggested to the county magistrate that Jiang Sanlang should be released on bail for medical treatment. They couldn't keep Jiang Sanlang in jail for another day or 2 while they waited to arrest the suspects. The county magistrate was reluctant, but after seeing Mingfu silently observing from across the room, he hurriedly agreed. Jiang Sanlang's case has yet to be decided and no crime was confirmed today. He was injured, deciding against bail would be unfair. Song Wenyu also pointed out that Jiang Sanlang was injured in jail, which gave the county magistrate no choice but to let him go. Truth be told, even if Qin family won the lawsuit, Jiang Sanlang would not be sentenced to death or exile. It would likely be considered a minor dispute that resulted in a brawl, requiring only a small compensation. The county magistrate initially didn't want to take up this case, but since Chen Guanglu was his trusted confidant, he had to attend to the matter closely as Chen Guanglu's leg was broken. Since there was no possibility for Chen Guanglu to overturn the case, the county magistrate decided to continue the trial according to the rules, disregarding Chen Guanglu's views. Consequently, Chun Yang paid 2 taels of silver for bail and returned to Gao family in with her husband. Ing Bao wanted to treat her father's injuries but Jiang Sanlang refused, as he needs his wounds visible for the upcoming trial. If his wound heals now, Chen Guanglu would go unpunished. The next afternoon, the constable brought Jiang Dalong and Jiang Erlang to the county town, followed by several villagers. The villagers were stirred up, shouting that they wanted to make an example out of Chen Guanglu and Chen Chongping. Seeing the matter was getting out of hand, the county magistrate, Wu Shi, finally stepped in. He took over the case from the county magistrate to judge it personally. Moreover, he publicly tried this civilian dispute. Indeed, the county magistrate adjusted the classification of the case and grouped it into civil disputes. Jiang Sanlang's stabbing in prison was treated as a separate case. Upon seeing this, Song Wenyu didn't hesitate to climb the ladder, submitting an appeal. He accused Chen Guanglu of breaching the laws of the imperial court by bribing the jailer to torture Jiang Sanlang. He also attempted to mislead and disrupt the court by intentionally breaking the law. Chen Guanglu was stupefied as he watched the county magistrate start his sweeping reform of the prison and arresting several officials. This included Chen Guanglu and a few of his good brothers. Only then did Ing Bao realize why Wu Daozi avoided meeting her and did not speak up for her during the first trial. It seemed he needed an excuse to clean up the scum within the government office. The so-called new official lights 3 fires seemed quite timely in Wu Daozi's case. After the case was sentenced, County Magistrate Chao Can didn't dare show his face for several days. Not to mention daring to speak up for the Han couple. Once the county magistrate took action, everyone else complied, and no one dared to stir the pot. In the end, Chen Guanglu was dismissed from his position, sentenced to 5 years in jail. The jailer and officials who helped him were also successively sentenced. The appeal of Qin Chongping and the Han family were also dismissed without any serious penalty. However, after this incident, it's estimated that Qin Chongping would face greater difficulties when taking the scholar examination. Next, Wu Daozi began to retry the case of the Han sisters hiring thugs to kidnap. The case was simple. As soon as Chen Ergu was brought in for a retrial and faced with a torture device, he confessed everything. Just like that, the Han sisters turned from plaintiffs to defendants and were immediately put in jail. Considering the Han family's kidnapping did not cause any deaths, they were sentenced to 3 years in prison and were to receive 40 lashes. Qin Chongping, however, wasn't involved, so he wasn't penalized. As the court session ended, the Jiang family was overjoyed and immediately paid Song Wenyu 20 taels of silver for the litigation fee. The first month passed quickly and it was already February before anyone realized. Jiang Sanlang invited a farmer skilled in nurturing fruit trees to help trim the trees in their courtyard. The 2 apple trees from the old house had also been moved to the south slope and planted in their own courtyard. One day, while Yingbao was making medicine at home, Ernie came in while holding her nose. "Yingbao, I've got some interesting news for you." "What interesting news?" Many people came to the Qin family in West Village. The 3 children of Mrs. Han were sent to Qin Chongping's house by Qin Guanglu's older brother and sister-in-law. Ernie spoke with curiosity. Qin Daya even complained that all the troubles had been caused by Mrs. Han and Qin Chongping, so the children of Mrs. Han must be raised by Qin Chongping's family. Yingbao raised her head. 3 children. Doesn't Mrs. Han have 4 children? Yes, there are only 3 of them, 3 girls. Ernie fanned her nose with her hand. What are you brewing that smells so bad? Renewing pills. Yingbao stirred the medicine pot and asked again, what did Qin Chongping say? What else could he say? He just had to swallow his pride and accept responsibility. He definitely wouldn't dare to toss the children out. Ernie gloated, now he has to feed 5 girls by himself. I bet he won't even have enough for food. Chen Guanglu's oldest daughter is 9 years old this year, the second daughter, Chen Tian, is only 8 years old, and the youngest one must be about 4 or 5 years old. Together with 8-year-old Qin Zhao and 10-year-old Qin Wan, Qin Chongping's household was now a lively one indeed. Chen Guanglu's house and property were sold by his older brother, Qin Daya, leaving only 10 taels of silver for his nieces for their future living expenses. Qin Chongping had set up his own household separately from his 2 brothers. Chen Laosuan was utterly disappointed in his second son and had no intention of financially supporting him. Without any farmland or money, Qin Chongping could not continue his studies. He could only copy texts at home, scraping a few coins together to support his family. In the sunny March, Yingbao saw several girls, including Qin Tian and her sisters, eager to find food on the south slope. Among the girls, only Qin Wan seemed happy, patiently teaching Qin Daya and her sisters how to recognize wild vegetables. Qin Tian pouted, reluctantly picking up some wild vegetables and throwing them into a bamboo basket before sitting on the ground, refusing to get up. Qin Zhao disapproved and reprimanded, "You are not a pampered young miss anymore. If you don't work, you won't eat. It's all because of your mother." Qin Tian suddenly exploded, pointing at Qin Zhao and yelling, "If it weren't for her getting us into trouble, how could my family be like this?" Qin Zhao was lost for a reply. "Your parents took 200 taels of silver from our family. If they hadn't been greedy for money, would they have stepped forward?" Humph. Qin Tian turned her head and suddenly saw a girl riding a deer in the distance. Anger surged from within her. Picking up small clod of dirt, she threw it towards them and yelled, "You bringer of doom. All of this happened because of you. Since their perfectly fine life encountered this harbinger of doom, it's been one misfortune after another." Yingbao was riding on a deer's back, watching the girls from a distance. A strange feeling filled her heart. She wondered if they would have the same smooth ride in this life as they did in the past. Mrs. Han was sentenced to 3 years in prison, so will Qin Su still be born 2 years later. Chapter 106, Chapter 106, Chapter 106, Planting Gourds. Chapter 106, Chapter 106, Planting Gourds. After March, the Jiang family began preparing for Jiang Cheng's wedding. Jiang Cheng managed to buy 2 large geese at several markets, clipped their wings, and kept them in a cage. Yingbao's eyes sparkled and she had a continuous grin watching her elder cousin. "Bao Bao, what are you planting in the yard?" Seeing her daughter busying herself in the small vegetable plot in the yard, Chunyang, who was sifting rice, asked. Gourds. Ingbao buried 2 gourd seeds in the soil. She planned to grow lots of gourds, sell them for money, and also give a few large ones to Wu Daozi. When Sister Wen came back, she would give her 2 as well. Speaking of which, it was already the end of March. Why hasn't Sister Wen returned yet? Just then, the sound of Mrs. Tang came from the courtyard entrance. Is Chunyang home? Chunyang instantly stood up. Yes, yes. Auntie Tang, please come in. Mrs. Tang, leading her little grandson Xiao Yao, entered and appraised the courtyard with a smile. Oh, your yard is very spacious. Not really. Chunyang laughed and moved a stool for Mrs. Tang to sit on. I see you've also started making earth bricks on the south slope. Are you building a house? Yes, indeed. Mrs. Tang sat down with a smile and gently pushed Xiao Yao. Go and play with sister. Xiao Yao ran up to Ingbao and stood there without a word, staring at her. Ingbao ignored him and continued to dig the soil and plant seeds. Mrs. Tang said, once our house is built, we can visit each other often. Then I will also grow some vegetables in the yard for convenience. You're also building a house on South Slope? Chunyang asked with a smile. Mrs. Tang sighed. South Slope has more space. Our Zhuzhu will have to divide the family property with his 2 elder brothers sooner or later. It's better to divide it sooner than later. I'm still alive now, and the old man can take care of them a bit. Once I kick the bucket, who will care for Zhuzhu's family? Look at you, no matter what, he is still Uncle Chen's biological son. How can he be so heartless? Ah, Chunyang, you just don't understand. Mrs. Tang shook her head and didn't continue on the topic. She turned her head to Ingbao and asked, Ingbao, do you still have those medicinal pills? I would like to buy some. While her family hasn't divided yet, she needed to buy a lot of medicine in preparation. Surely the old man would not treat them all equally. If she didn't spend some money now, it would all eventually go to the eldest and second brother later. Yes, Grandma Tang, how many do you want? Ingbao heard Tang Popo wanted to buy the pills and immediately ran over. Mrs. Tang took out a 5-tael little silver ingot. Just buy this much. She had to beg the old man hard to get this silver. She had realized that nothing was as important as her own life. As long as she lived, Zhuzhu's family would live peacefully. Ingbao cheerfully accepted the silver, ran back into the house, and came out again, this time holding a ceramic bowl full of pills. Here you go, a total of 30 pills. You can only eat 1 a day. This was the harmony-preserving pill she had made a while ago. It was composed of hawthorn, fermented grain, pinelia, poria, tangerine peel, forsythia, radish seed, and a little bit of woodingzi. This pill targeted people like Mrs. Tang, who had a high-fat blood type. Mrs. Tang pocketed the pills in her large sleeve, called her grandson over, stood up, and bid Chunyang farewell. Shortly after Mrs. Tang left, sister-in-law Jiang came over and called over the 3 sisters to sew wedding quilts. There was a custom regarding the sewing of wedding quilts. It could only be done by those blessed with good fortune. A total of 4 quilts were sewn for the wedding. All of them had a silk surface, a cotton lining, and were stuffed with soft cotton floss. Sister-in-law Jiang did not look happy as she sewed the quilts and chatted with the 3 sisters. The matchmaker from the Chu family came yesterday, suggesting that we give 100 taels of silver for a bride price. Oh, I don't know what they are thinking. Although the Jiang family made good money last year, they've just started to get on their feet, and they've just built a new house, with new furnishing throughout. And what about those bamboo cages they built, and the other necessities they bought? Don't these cost money too? Didn't you give the Chu family 30 taels as an engagement gift last time? Plus a pair of silver bracelets. Now they're asking for 100 taels. They must think the Jiang family is loaded. Jiang's sister-in-law sighed. Yes, if it weren't for the fact that we're engaged, and that Deshang is especially fond of her, I'd be thinking about breaking off this engagement. Which farming family ever spends so much on a dowry? It's as if they're marrying into a high-class family. 100 taels, only the Chu family could come up with such an idea. Even if our family pooled all our money, it would be no more than 70 taels. Chunyang did not respond, but her dislike for the Chu family's daughter grew. But that girl is already her nephew's prospective daughter-in-law, so it's not her place to object. We initially talked about the daughter of the Chu craftsman. I don't know why, but the matchmaker brought up the horoscope of the legitimate daughter of Chu village, saying it matches perfectly with Deshang's. Oh, Jiang's sister-in-law grew more and more frustrated as she thought about it. She had seen the daughter of the Chu craftsman, while not as refined as the legitimate daughter of Chu village, she seemed like a decent girl. It was as if they were blindfolded by lard, and agreed to consider the legitimate daughter of Chu village. Chun Yang silently shook her head. A case of notorious fame inviting trouble. Word about the Jiang family's cultivation of gold ear mushrooms must have spread far and wide. Otherwise, why would the Chu family force their daughter's horoscope upon them? It would be humiliating if the prospective groom's family refused. Once the quilt was mended, Chun Yang went home to wash rice, cook porridge, and make some pancakes. In the evening, Sanlang Jiang came back from the fields, with his 2 sons who he had picked up from school. Xiaojie and Xiaowu have now started their formal education at the village school, going to and from school with Huzi and Yuanbao. Occasionally, Jiang Sanlang would go and pick them up. Both children were very bright, even the master praised their quick wit. Chun Yang brought the food to the table and served the porridge and pancakes to the children. Pancakes filled with fried chives and little dried fish were delicious. Yingbao ate 3 in one go and drank half a bowl of porridge, her stomach round and full. Chun Yang, we won't be planting rami this year. I've already bought a large number of saplings to plant on the North Mountain, said Jiang Sanlang, biting into a pancake. Chun Yang replied, if we're not planting rami, we're not planting rami. It's too much work. We can just plant more cotton this year. I've planted 10 acres of cotton. My eldest and second brothers also planted 10 acres. We should finish sowing the seeds in a few days. Jiang Sanlang took several sips from his bowl of porridge, put it down, and said, once we're done with the cotton, we can start planting the gold ear mushrooms. The strains of his gold ear mushrooms are still covered under the straw curtains. They anticipate considerable work ahead. Immediately, Yingbao chimed in, Dad, later, I will give you the premium gold ear and Schwer strains. Others can have the regular ones. Jiang Sanlang's eyes lit up. How many premium strains do you have, Bao Bao? There are several hundred strains. We can separate 600 strains and each of your elder and second brothers can have 300. To grow premium gold ear and Schwer mushrooms, a special nutritional base is required. Once the nutrients in the base are exhausted, the mushrooms that grow next are just regular golden ears. Therefore, others simply can't grow the premium version. Great. Jiang Sanlang was very pleased, not caring at all about where his daughter was storing these golden mushroom strains. Oh, wait, her gold ear strains are kept separately in a bamboo cage in their courtyards, covered by a grass curtain. He just never went in to check. Chapter 107, Chapter 107, Chapter 107, Cannon Fodder in Novels 1. Chapter 107, Chapter 107, Cannon Fodder in Novels 1. At night, Yingbao crawled into the bamboo shed and got busy. First, she moved the earthen jars from the cave house one by one to the shelves in the bamboo shed, and then collected some empty jars into the cave house. When she finished these tasks, she washed her hands and returned to the room to sleep. Lying on the warm heated floor, she closed her eyes and entered the cave house. The crops in the cave house were mature and she had harvested most of them, leaving a small portion unharvested. She didn't plan to harvest the crops tonight, but searched all around for Wudingzi on the cave walls. She had used most of this strange thing, and only a pitiful little bit was left. Yingbao decided not to use it anymore until she could set up a cloud ladder to reach the top of the cave, then she'd use the remaining Wudingzi. After all, she had nearly prepared all of the medicines she was supposed to, even the portion for Wudaozi was ready. Walking around the pool once, Yingbao squinted at the glowing object at the middle. At first glance, the thing looked like a small sun, but on closer inspection, it looked more like a glowing stone. She wasn't sure whether it was hot or not. Perhaps she should send a gourd boat to the center to check. No sooner said than done. Yingbao selected a few large gourds with vines, dragged them together and twisted them into a gourd boat. 5 large gourds were tightly connected side by side, sturdy and well balanced, with no risk of tipping over. Yingbao sat in the middle of the gourd, using a shovel as a paddle. Before long, she arrived next to the glowing object. This object, although it glowed, didn't seem to burn people. When she got close, she didn't feel much heat either. While paddling, Ingbao circled around the smooth and shiny glowing object. Suddenly, she noticed a small oval door on the glowing object, which looked like the moon gate in the garden of a rich family. Ingbao hesitated for a moment, but couldn't resist her strong curiosity, so she slowly approached the small door. She poked the small door with the shovel, but there was no response, like poking into a bunch of cotton. Ingbao became more curious. She put down the shovel and reached out to touch it. Suddenly, the glowing object burst into a bright light, blinding her. Ingbao instinctively closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, she found herself in a foggy place. What? Why does it look like the place she saw in her dreams? Sure enough, a huge book slowly appeared in front of her, with the pages flipping rapidly. Shockingly, Ingbao stepped forward and held the book down with her hand. The pages stopped moving then, but the words inside were still jumping around so much that it was impossible to read them. When Ingbao removed her hand, the pages slowly closed. The words Qian Palace Sweet Charm were still on the cover. What the hell is this? A book with freely jumping characters was something she had never seen before. Looking around, she could only see thick fog everywhere. She couldn't see what was around her at all. Returning to the book again, she stood in silence for a moment before forcefully flipping open the first page. This time, the words on the page no longer jumped around, but the contents were entirely different from what she had seen earlier. The first chapter told of Chen Tiantian's mother and Chen Zhao's mother being framed and thrown into jail, and later being saved by a nobleman. This nobleman was none other than the head of the Wei family in the prefecture city. Ingbao frowned. She knew about the Wei family. In the future, they were involved in the competition between the three princes. Their power was not to be underestimated. Since they were involved in a rebellion, they should have either manpower or money. She didn't know about they have people, but they surely had money and power. It was said that their shops were spread all over the country. Ingbao wanted to turn to the second chapter, but the book turned back into a butterfly and flew away. As the book disappeared, Ingbao blinked and found herself back on the gourd boat. Looking at where the small door once was, it had disappeared without a trace. Rowing the gourd boat back to the shore, Ingbao contemplated deeply. It would seem, she was indeed living inside a book. The female lead and the female side character in the book were exceptionally formidable. Despite the circumstances, they still had a chance to turn the tables. Even though she had changed the course of many events, the book could rearrange itself, beginning a new round of drama. The myriad of changes still led to the same conclusion. The female lead remained as the female lead, and herself, a cannon fodder tool, might still be just that. Ingbao felt unbearably depressed. Was she doomed to never escape this damn fate? No, she would find out tomorrow what the Chen Chongping family were plotting, and how they could possibly vindicate the Han sisters. Chen family in Shichen village. In order to support his second son, Chen Laozuan, along with his wife, followed Chen Chongping. The eldest son, Chen Chongrong, had no objections, the third son, Chen Chongai, even less so. Only Chen Laozuan's daughter, Chen Hui, was unhappy. She hurriedly ran back to her maternal home to scold her parents. "Mother, why are you still taking care of brother when he's like this?" Chen Feng looked at her daughter. "Are you suggesting I should just ignore him because he is my son?" Chen Hui huffily sat down on a stool. "You've already divided the land and properties to him. It was him who sold it all after listening to the Han woman's lies. Now, are you planning to give the remaining few acres to him as well? How will you sustain yourselves in the future?" Chen Feng defended. "Your second brother hasn't asked us to financially aid him. He has been copying books these past few days." Copying books? Chen Hui scoffed. "He spent decades studying, and all he can do is copy books. What else can he do?" Chen Laozuan came in, hands behind his back, and scolded in a low voice. "Speak no more nonsense." Chen Hui turned away, ignoring her father. Chen Laozuan closed the door behind him, spoke softly. "I went to the county town to consult a lawyer. If we want to save the Han woman, we must prove that the child is ours. Only then, she can't be accused of being a kidnapper." Chen Hui huffed. "Why are you so obsessed with saving that woman?" Chen Laozuan glared at her. "What am I to that unlucky star? I wouldn't care if she died, unless it involves my second son. His son cannot take the civil service examination in this lifetime because his wife is a kidnapper." That stigma haunted him. Even if the Han woman died, Chen Chongping could not get rid of this stain on his reputation. The more Chen Laozuan thought about it, the angrier he became at his good son being ruined by such a stupid woman. The only way to clear all the charges was to prove that the child was indeed their own. After the Han woman was exonerated and returned, he could force his son to divorce her. He didn't want such an ill-omened woman to affect his son's luck. How do you plan to prove it? The county magistrate himself declared the sentence. Do you think you can easily overturn it? Chen Hui disdained. Chen Laozuan, the county magistrate, may be in charge here, but who is he in the prefecture city? Humph, I will go to the prefecture city tomorrow to meet the head of the Wei family. It had been over a decade since he last visited prefecture city. He didn't even know if that master was still alive. Nevertheless, he had to try. Compared to his son's future, what was losing a little face? Maybe he could still turn things around. The next day, before dawn, Chen Laozuan and his second son Chen Chongping rode a donkey cart out of the village, heading for prefecture city. The last piece of information that Ing Bao gathered was that Chen Laozuan and his second son had already gone to prefecture city. What was written in the book was indeed true. It seemed that she had another tough battle ahead. The Chen family just wouldn't let it go. She didn't know how exactly they were planning on saving the Han sisters. Right, other than proving that she was their child, there was no other way. But how could that be, now that her birthmark had vanished? How could they recognize her as their child? Ing Bao thought for a moment, and decided to find her mother. There were some matters that needed her parents' involvement. Chapter 108, Chapter 108, Chapter 108, The In-Laws Are Troublesome 1. Chapter 108, Chapter 108, The In-Laws Are Troublesome 1. It was the day of Jiang Cheng's wedding. Elder Jiang invited everyone from East Village to the wedding banquet, and even invited Aunt Wu Sishi and her family from West Village. Aunt Wu Sishi didn't want to come, but her husband decided to use this opportunity to mend relationships with the Jiang family, therefore forcing her to attend. During the banquet, someone asked her, Aunt Wu Sishi, did you really see a red birthmark on the wrist of Han family's daughter? Aunt Wu Sishi nodded, of course, whoever lies will not end well. Someone laughed and asked, then why did you believe our little fairy child also had a birthmark? Wu Sishi coughed awkwardly and replied, it wasn't my assumption, it was indeed the Han sisters who tricked me into becoming a witness for them. Who would have thought that those two would be so malicious? The crowd laughed, you can't claim that our little fairy child is from the Chen family next time, otherwise your oath will come true and even the ghosts will come to get you. Hee hee, indeed, I know that. Aunt Wu Sishi laughed awkwardly before burying her face in her food. At dusk, the bride arrived in a palanquin. Chu He, her uncle and older brother, and her two uncles escorted the bride to her groom's house. When the palanquin was settled in the courtyard, the matchmakers helped the new bride out. After crossing over the fire basin and paying respect to heaven, earth, and her parents, she entered the bridal chamber. After the ceremony, Elder Jiang quickly invited his daughter-in-law's uncles and older brother to sit down, and had his two younger brothers and a few peers from the village to accompany them. After 3 rounds of drinks, Chu's eldest uncle began to criticize Elder Jiang indignantly, Father-in-law, we had clearly agreed on a dowry of 100 taels of silver, but when we came to the wedding today, your family only brought 80 taels. If the matchmaker hadn't buttered us up, I wouldn't have let my niece board the palanquin. Elder Jiang laughed embarrassingly and didn't know how to respond. In fact, he had only given Deshang 60 taels of silver, but Deshang had apparently added an additional 20 taels to make it 80. Yet, the Chu family was still unsatisfied. Sigh. Chu's eldest uncle continued, when we return tomorrow, you can use the golden ear fungus as compensation. We're all reasonable people here, we don't need a lot, 400 pots should be enough. The Chu's matchmaker also chimed in with a laugh, that's 400 pots of fungus, not 400 individual pieces. How does that sound? Father-in-law. There's no problem, is there? There was a moment of silence among the crowd. 400 pots of fungus. If they were to be individually grown, that would amount to over 1,000 golden ear fungi. The Chu family really dared to ask for a lot. Jiang Sanlang put down his wine cup and spoke calmly, we Jiangs are just poor farmers. When in-laws demanded for 100 taels of silver, it was a bit outrageous. Brother-in-law, you better go around and ask, among the families around, how many can afford 100 taels of silver for a dowry? Even the rich townspeople couldn't afford it. Jiang Sanlang was too embarrassed to tell them that even coming up with 20 or 30 taels of silver for a wife would be a stretch for some families. And now they also wanted 400 pots of fungus. Even he, Jiang Sanlang, couldn't produce that much in one go. The Chu family had quite the ambition. One of the Chu uncles slammed the table and asked, "What do you mean? Are you planning to go back on your word now that the bride is here?" The Jiang family's matchmaker hurriedly intervened, "Uncle, please don't say that. We, as adults, are supposed to discuss these things properly. The children shouldn't be involved." Chu's uncle replied, "I don't want to involve my niece either, but you guys from the Jiang family were the ones who started this." The 18-year-old Chu he even threw his cup on the floor in anger and shouted, "Are you Jiangs trying to bully my Chu family thinking we have no one to protect us?" Jiang Sanlang's face fell and he shot a glance at his older brother. They were marrying a daughter, especially the daughter of his older brother, who would eventually inherit the family business. They should have examined the Chu's family situation more thoroughly. With these weird relatives causing chaos, Deshang's marriage might not be as blissful as expected. The Jiang's matchmaker quickly intervened again, "Let's calm down and discuss this." Jiang Sanlang stood up and said coldly, "There is nothing to discuss. The golden ear fungus is always supplied by me, Jiang Sanlang. My older brother doesn't have that many mushrooms. Even if he did, he wouldn't give them to this family." Having said that, he turned and walked away. Jiang Erlang also stood up and looked at the in-laws. "If you are dissatisfied, feel free to take the couple back. They haven't even consummated their marriage yet. Our Jiang family isn't desperate to climb your Chu family tree." Saying so, he also left the banquet. Seeing that the two direct relatives from the groom's side had left, a few accompanying guests also began to exit. As they exited the room, they were pulled by Jiang Erlang to sit at another table, where the drinking continued. This left the people from the Chu family stunned. Both mediators look at each other in confusion. This was the first time they had encountered such a situation, but they couldn't leave either, so they had to continue to entertain the Chu family and Jiang Dalong. Seeing the situation at an impasse, another uncle of the Chu family scolded his nephew, "When adults are speaking, it's not your place to interfere. Apologize to your uncle Jiang." They had also been startled by the rigid attitude of the Jiang family, genuinely scared. What if the Jiang family doesn't follow the rules? Would they truly have to take their niece back home? Oh dear, the Chu family just can't afford this disgrace. Having grown accustomed to having his way at home, Chu he, for the first time, was meeting someone bold enough to resist him, and it happened to be the newly rich Jiang family. Out of rage, he flipped the wine table. Crash! An entire table of food and drink was spilled all over the floor, narrowly missing the mediator's feet. "We won't marry into your family. I'm taking my sister home." Having said that, he stormed off towards the bridal chamber. Jiang Dalong stood unmoved, letting the two mediators approach and pull Chu he. The uncles of the Chu family, seeing the Jiang family still indifferent, couldn't help but feel vexed. In order to prevent the situation from escalating, one of the Chu family's uncles instantly stepped forward and slapped his nephew. "Look at yourself, acting crazy after a few drinks, just wait until we tell your parents when we get back home." After hitting his nephew, he raised his hands to Jiang Dalong in apology. "My apologies, my nephew can't handle his drink, he becomes disoriented after a few sips." Yes, Chu he is young and can't hold his liquor. Everything he said just now was nonsense, please don't take it to heart. Chu family's mediator quickly came to mediate. Jiang Dalong laughed lightly, "Since he's drunk, let him rest." He held himself with dignity, not like his two younger brothers, who chose to walk away with indifference. Moreover, this was his son's wedding. No matter what, he had to attend to the few members of the Chu family. The few attendees from the Chu family were then led to the new room in Jiang Erlang's house to rest. Jiang Erlang took the newly made bedding to his room, took out some old blankets and spread them on the bamboo bed in the living room for the guests to rest. As for his own bedroom, he wouldn't let people from the Chu family enter. To prevent guests from recklessly entering and messing with his bamboo shed, Jiang Erlang even sealed all the bamboo sheds, making it impossible for even a rat to get in without some effort. After the feast, Chunyang, and a few village women cleaned up the tables, chairs, pots, pans, and dishes, then gave the leftover food to the helpers and finally went home. In the bridal chamber, the matchmaker and another old woman fed the newlyweds dumplings, then took 2 gourd ladles filled with wine and fed them. After the couple drank the unifying wine, the old woman said a bunch of auspicious words, and finally let the newlyweds rest. The double happiness candles lit up the bridal chamber brightly. Jiang Cheng, feeling a bit embarrassed, asked his bride if she was hungry. Of course, Chuman was hungry. She hadn't eaten anything since dawn and had been starving all day. After putting on the bridal dress, she couldn't go to the bathroom, and her mother wouldn't let her drink even a sip of water. Even though the old woman had just fed her 2 raw dumplings, it didn't help at all. At this moment, she wasn't just hungry, she was also thirsty and desperately needed to use the bathroom. In the courtyard of the Jiang family, 2 large red lanterns adorned with the word, "Double Happiness," were hanging high under the eaves, making the courtyard bright and festive. In the middle of the silent night, a woman's scream suddenly came from the bridal chamber in the east, followed by the sound of something breaking. Chapter 109, Chapter 109, Chapter 109, Newlywed Drama 1. Chapter 109, Chapter 109, Newlywed Drama 1. Get out. Get out of here. The woman's shrill screams echoed far and wide, startling the relatives living in the Jiang family house. Immediately afterwards, Jiang Cheng, disheveled, was pushed out of the room. The door slammed shut behind him. Jiang's sister-in-law, clad in her gown, rushed out to investigate. Upon seeing her eldest son covered in blood, she screamed in terror. "Deshang, what's happened?" Jiang Cheng, too mortified to find a hole to crawl into, pressed his hand against his forehead and murmured, "Mother, please be quiet." It was quite embarrassing. His newly wedded wife had smashed his head with a ceramic pillow, claiming she felt disgusted. If word of this event were to get out, he would surely be too ashamed to show his face again. Jiang's uncle also got up, seeing his son's severe injuries, he quickly brought him into his own room and dashed off to find his younger brother for medication. Yingbao and Danny were sleeping soundly, utterly ignorant of their cousin's complicated wedding night and his bloody head. The next day, the newlyweds were supposed to serve tea to the elders in the morning and take this opportunity to familiarize themselves with the family members. However, the girl from the Chu family slept until well after sunrise and then languidly shuffled out of her nuptial chamber wearing her shoes. Chuman stood disheveled and disoriented under the eaves, looking all around and shouting loudly, "Brother! Uncle! Where have you all gone?" When no one answered, she began to stomp her feet and cry, "Brother! Brother! Where are you?" By this time, those who had accompanied the bride to her newlyweds' home had already returned after having breakfast. If they stayed any longer, they would probably feel too embarrassed. Chun, Danny, and Ernie were just entering the courtyard and were taken aback at the sight of Chuman's disarray. Upon entering from outside, the matriarch saw her new daughter-in-law crying while in disarray. She quickly rushed over to ask, "What's wrong?" Chuman violently shook off her mother-in-law's hand and screamed, "Don't touch me." Jiang's sister-in-law furrowed her eyebrows, suddenly suspecting that her new daughter-in-law might not be in her right mind. Danny was displeased seeing her new sister-in-law shake off her mother. Nonetheless, she stepped forward and asked, "Do you need help freshening up? I can guide you." After crying for a while, Chuman suddenly turned around and went back into the room, took care of her business in the toilet behind the bed screen, then came out again. She stopped crying now. With her chin raised high, she instructed Donley, "Help me comb my hair." Danny kept her feelings to herself and went inside to help her comb her hair. Yingbao and Ernie looked at each other in confusion, unable to figure out what was going on with Chuman. It didn't seem like she was mentally ill, but her behavior was undoubtedly unusual. Which new bride wouldn't exercise some restraint upon arriving at her husband's home? Yet she behaved as if she had been spoiled into an idiot, knowing nothing about anything. Ouch! Do you even know how to comb? You're ripping off my hair. It doesn't hurt, huh? Chuman's shrieks echoed from inside the room. It was unbearably ear-piercing. Jiang's sister-in-law's brows furrowed even deeper and she turned around to go hang the laundry. These were her son's new clothes stained in blood, and she had soaked them with Wadesh water early in the morning to cleanse them in the pond. Her son was still unconscious now, and she couldn't help but worry if his brain had been injured. After much difficulty, Danny finally combed Chu Man's hair and was hoping to style it into a married woman's bun, but Chu Man refused. Having no choice, she could only help her make a double bun as she requested. After her hair was done, Chu Man asked Danny to help her dress. Once she had put on her clothes, she stretched out her foot and asked Danny to help her put on her socks and shoes. However, Danny didn't entertain her this time and simply left the room. Danny finally understood. This new sister-in-law wasn't simple-minded, she was deliberately flexing her power to the Jiang family. First pretending to be insane, then prodding her in-laws step by step, and if all else fails, resorting to crying, making a scene, and throwing tantrums. All to show her in-laws that she was not to be trifled with. Jiang's sister-in-law hung up the laundry, and she eventually went to the kitchen to prepare 2 bowls of noodles, each topped with 2 puffy eggs. She asked her eldest daughter to deliver a bowl to their new daughter-in-law and herself carried the other bowl to her son. After all, it was her first time entering their home, and Jiang's sister-in-law was worried about letting her new daughter-in-law go hungry. After finishing a bowl of noodles in front of her dressing table, Chu Man staggered out of her room. She ignored her mother-in-law and the third aunt in the courtyard, her attention fixed on the silver locket hanging from Ingbao's neck. It was a birthday gift Chun Yang had bought for her daughter this year and decided to let her wear it these past few days due to the recent family celebration. Relatives had come to visit, naturally, she would want her daughter to look her best for them. Ingbao sensed Chu Man's gaze, unafraid, she reciprocated. Chu Man ambled forward, reaching for the silver locket around Ingbao's neck. Chun Yang stepped forward, discreetly stopping her. "De Shang's wife, what are you trying to do?" Chu Man smirked, ignoring the third aunt, turned around, and dashed back into her bridal chamber, not seen again after that. Jiang's eldest daughter-in-law sighed, told Chun Yang, "You all can go." Originally, Chun Yang visited here to show the newlywed respect. But this new bride didn't even extend common courtesies. Not even offering tea to her own mother-in-law today. Well, sooner or later, every child must forge their own path, let her be. Chun Yang returned home with her daughter and second niece not long after. Danny soon dropped by as well. They exchanged glances, none mentioning Chu Man. "Ingbao, I'm thinking of growing an extra 100 golden ear mushrooms this year." Danny asked, "Do you have any extra spawns?" Aside from her father's spawn, the surplus was all given to her uncle's family. Even Danny's spawn had been partially given away, it was demanded by relatives and she couldn't say no. Ingbao nodded, "Yes, but I don't have much. If I give you 100, I won't have any for my second sister." She still had 20 jars of ordinary golden ear mushroom spawns in her cave, she should be able to spare 100. Danny generously said, "I don't need it, I've already grown 200 this year. Any more, she's worried she can't handle." Her father grew 500 this year. Danny shyly smiled, thanked her younger sister. The 3 sisters chatted for a while, then each went home. Ingbao sat beside her mother watching her weave. Chun Yang was still using an old-fashioned local loom, difficult to operate and incapable of wide weaves. She suddenly remembered a type of loom she had seen in her past life. Not only was it fast, it made weaving easier. "Mother, I heard there's a type of loom in Prefecture City that's easier to use, more efficient, and saves time. Why don't we buy a couple and try it out?" Chun Yang laughed, "Silly child, Prefecture City is so far away, looms are heavy and bulky, even if we go, it won't be easy to bring it back. Ingbao, we can ask Zhou Mao, the steward, to help us. Furifeng is a merchant group that does business everywhere, as long as we pay, they can bring goods back from anywhere." Chun Yang nodded, "Makes sense, let's discuss this with Zhou's steward next time we sell golden ear mushrooms. Anyway, they aren't short on money." She wanted to see what the loom in Prefecture City looked like. If indeed it was faster and more efficient, then wouldn't they be hitting the jackpot? While they were talking, there seemed to be activity in the courtyard. Chun Yang got up abruptly and went out to check. A red figure, like a ghost, was standing at Ingbao's window sneaking a peek inside. Chun Yang was furious, she sternly asked, "Niece-in-law, what are you doing? No decent person would sneak around someone else's house, let alone peep inside like a ghost." This Chu Man was really something. Chapter 110, Chapter 110, Chapter 110, The Jiang family can afford this kind of daughter-in-law. Chapter 110, Chapter 110, The Jiang family can afford this kind of daughter-in-law. Chuman turned her gaze and said, I came to play with the child you picked up, why are you being so hostile? Nanny Chun said coldly, our Bao Bao and you are not of the same kind. Dashang's wife, you should just go back. This new daughter-in-law is not here to play with her daughter, she's likely coveting the daughter's silver lock. Chuman pouted, blatantly acting careless, but I want to play with her. Ing Bao emerged from the house and stood beside her mom, looking at Chu Men as if she were an idiot. First sister-in-law, how old are you this year? Chuman, I'm 16, kid, do you want to go out and play with me? Turns out you're already 16. I thought you were only 2. Ing Bao ridiculed without any mercy, I don't want to play with a 2-year-old retard. You. Chuman was furious when she heard Ing Bao's mockery. She disregarded everything and rushed at Ing Bao, you bastard, dare to scold me. I'll kill you. Nanny Chun became enraged, she picked up a bamboo broom to strike, get out. Even though this Chuman was the new bride, Nanny Chun did not want to indulge her any further. Such an arrogant and rude person who dares to come to her house looking for trouble really has guts. Today, even if the heavens had come down, she would not forgive her. Chuman was not really a fool, seeing Nanny Chun raising the broom to hit her, she got scared and turned to run, running all the way out of the yard. Nanny Chun wielded the broom at the doorway, pointed at the idiot and yelled, if you dare set foot in my house again, I'll make you pay. When sister-in-law Jiang and Danny Ernie heard the noise, they came out. Not knowing what had happened, but knowing that Nanny Chun would not beat or scold someone without cause, they looked at the new bride. Chuman sat on the ground, kicked her legs, twisted her body, and started crying, Mother. The Jiang family is bullying me. I want to go home. Woo woo wah wah. Unfortunately, no matter how she cried out, no one came to comfort her. Sister-in-law Jiang and Nanny Chun exchanged a look, then each turned around and returned home, ignoring the new daughter-in-law who was still throwing tantrums and crying. Danny didn't go back but ran to second uncle's house, and pulled Ernie, who was watching the excitement at the door, into the yard, closed the door, and said in a low voice, don't look at her. The more we look at her the more energetic she gets. Humph. Last night she even smashed my older brother's head. What? She smashed Dashang's head. Ernie was surprised. No wonder she hadn't seen her first cousin since morning. It was also no wonder that her third aunt was so rude to the new daughter-in-law. Indeed. Danny said indignantly, I just found out. She and Ernie had slept in Ing Bao's room last night and had breakfast in Nanny Chun's house this morning, so they had no idea that the new sister-in-law had done such a thing. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have bothered doing her hair. What a piece of crap. Her older brother was still lying on the Kong and couldn't get up. Even turning over made him feel dizzy. How bad is the injury? Is it serious? Pretty serious. Second brother went to the town to invite Dr. Lee early in the morning. Danny said in sorrow, Mom said big brother lost a lot of blood, his face turned pale at the time. What a poisonous woman. Ernie couldn't help but curse. Why on earth would she hit Dashang? No idea. Just look at her arrogant demeanor, she definitely caused trouble on purpose by smashing big brother. Danny was thoroughly disgusted by the new sister-in-law. Such a charming person who does not seem at all to have screws loose in the head, why would she be this way? Chuman outside saw that no one was paying attention to her, and quickly quieted down. She rushed straight back home, darting through the rooms in search of someone. Kicking open the door to one of the side rooms, she saw a young boy lying on the heated brick bed. Immediately, she lunged at him and began tearing at him, get up. Your family has been bullying me. What are you playing dead for? Jiang Cheng's head was spinning, and being torn at like this, his vision went black, and he suddenly fainted. Jiang Zhou, who had hurried over from the kitchen, saw this scene as soon as she entered the room. She was terrified. Lurching forward, she fiercely pulled Chuman away from her son and pinched his philtrum desperately while shouting, Dashang. Dashang, wake up. Chuman was pushed to the ground, and it took her a while to react. She burst into tears and wailed, Mother. The Jiang family are all bad people. They're all bullying me. I want to go home. I want to go home. The shriek was so piercing, it could have shaken the roof. Jiang Zhou suddenly turned around, took 2 steps toward Chuman, and slapped her fiercely, get out now. The Jiang family can't afford a daughter-in-law like you. Chuman was shocked and stunned by the slap, totally forgetting to cry out. This was the first time she had truly been slapped like this, and she began to feel fear. Especially when she saw the furious expression on her mother-in-law, her fear intensified. Chuman crawled up from the ground, quickly ran back to her bridal room, and slammed the door shut. She then burrowed under the bed covers, too scared to stick her head out again. Not long after, Jiang Quan brought the doctor in a mule cart. "Mother, the doctor is here." Not seeing anyone in the yard, Jiang Quan called out loudly, "Mother! Where are you?" Jiang Zhou came out from the room and wiped away her tears. "Quick, let the doctor in. Your eldest brother fell unconscious, but I've just brought him around." The doctor, carrying his medicine chest, entered the room and saw a pale-faced teenager lying on the heated brick bed. The boy's eyes were swollen and bruised, and his head was bandaged with a white cloth, exhibiting several spots of blood. "How did he get hurt?" The doctor put down his medicine chest on the table, sat down on a chair next to the heated bed, and began to take the young boy's pulse. Jiang Zhou replied, "He got hit by a porcelain pillow. He was bleeding a lot. We had applied some herbal medicine last night, and the bleeding has stopped. But he keeps complaining about his head, and this morning when we tried to feed him some noodles, he vomited after only eating a few mouthfuls." The doctor furrowed his brow, tested the boy's neck, found he had no fever, and breathed a sigh of relief. "He has suffered a head injury with probable internal bleeding. You have to be careful and avoid letting him do any strenuous activities." He lifted Jiang Cheng's eyelid and saw blood clots under it. He couldn't help but sigh, the boy is quite seriously injured. Thinking of the scene she saw yesterday, Zhou felt heartbreak and nodded, "Yes, he is severely injured. That damn Chuman, how much force did she use? Did she want to kill him?" The doctor walked over to the table, opened up his medicine box. "I'll prescribe some medicine first. Let him take it for a while and we'll see how it goes." Suddenly, he remembered how Jiang Sanlang had also suffered a head injury and seemed to have healed rather quickly. Turning to look at Jiang Zhou, he decided to write down the same prescription he gave to Jiang Sanlang. It was strange indeed how the Jiang family, despite having access to good medicine and recipes, preferred using common herbal soup. After writing the prescription, the doctor gave a few more instructions before asking, "Where are the other Jiangs?" Jiang Zhou replied, "They went to the old house. Ever since Deshang suffered a head injury last night and the new daughter-in-law didn't come out of her room this morning ignoring the knocks on her door, the Jiang patriarch and Jiang Lu decided to return to the old house with a group of relatives. Out of sight, out of mind. This way, they wouldn't have to deal with the new daughter-in-law causing more trouble, embarrassing them in front of relatives who traveled from afar. Jiang Dalong and his two brothers naturally had to accompany them back to the old house. Moreover, a few banquet tables were to be set up at the old house by noon to thank the villagers who had helped yesterday. Thus, only Jiang Desai and Chunyang stayed behind at the new house to keep watch over the new daughter-in-law. Chapter 111, Chapter 111, Chapter 111, Canceling the Engagement. Chapter 111, Chapter 111, Canceling the Engagement. After seeing off Dr. Li, Mrs. Zhou could not help but start weeping again. What kind of sin had she committed, to have such a daughter-in-law? What would happen to Deshang in the future? She clearly thought Chuman was quite decent during the matchmaking event. She had a pleasant smiling face and a sweet mouth, but she seemed to have changed entirely after the marriage. Besides, her father was the village chief of the Chu family village and highly respected locally. His children wouldn't be too bad, right? Even during the engagement, nothing seemed amiss. The Chu family seemed reasonable, only mentioning how their daughter had been spoiled since childhood and couldn't handle hard labor. She didn't care too much about that statement, because she was getting a daughter-in-law, not a workhorse. It didn't matter if she could work, as long as she could live happily with Deshang. Who could have expected such trouble to occur on the wedding day? She could still bear the bride's older brother flipping the banquet table, dismissing it as youthful exuberance and drunken antics. But the bride had hit her son's head that night, even kicking him out of the bridal chamber. If the woman had hit any harder, wouldn't her son have been killed by that pillow? The more Zhou thought about it, the angrier and more afraid she became. This won't do. She must go and discuss this matter with her sister-in-law. Mrs. Zhou closed the door to her son's room, thought for a moment, and closed the door to the bridal chamber as well before she went to visit her sister-in-law, Jiang Sanlang, to express her frustrations. I really regret not waiting for my eldest son to return before arranging Dashang's marriage. This hastily arranged match is truly problematic. Wiping her tears, Mrs. Zhou asked, "Sister-in-law, what should we do?" Chun Yang could not come up with a definite plan either. If the marriage had not been consummated, there would still be room for maneuver. But now that the bride was already brought home, unless they found a reason to send her back to her parents' home. But if they simply send her back, would the Chu family agree? Eldest sister-in-law, have you asked what Dashang thinks? Chun Yang asked. Mrs. Zhou sighed, what could he possibly think? He was nearly killed before consummating the marriage. Would he dare to approach her again in the future? Chun Yang thought for a moment and suggested, how about using Dashang's injury as a reasoning and ask the Chu family to take back their daughter? Mrs. Zhou was stunned, is that possible? Why not? Their daughter nearly killed our Dashang. Everyone who came for the wedding from the Chu family knows it. That was probably why they hurriedly left early the next day without any further demands, fearing that the Jiang family might confront them. What if they refused to take her back? Mrs. Zhou was caught in a predicament. Chun Yang suggested, then tell the Chu family that, if they don't come to get her back, we will report them to the government and let them decide. Injuring the bridegroom to a severe condition on the wedding night, no family could tolerate such a daughter-in-law. Mrs. Zhou gritted her teeth, all right. I will discuss this with my eldest son and have him send someone to deliver the message to the Chu family village. This was a major matter, it would be more effective if they found some respected elders to intimidate them. At this point, Yingbao poked her head out from the side and whispered, Auntie, I can prepare some sedatives for Dashang to make sure he sleeps well these days. You can then tell them that Dashang has been unconscious since the incident. This will give us a greater chance of winning. Dashang had suffered a head injury and needed plenty of sleep for his recovery. This plan would kill two birds with one stone. All right, I will tell my eldest son this. Mrs. Zhou got up to leave, calling Danny from the neighboring house to come home and take care of her brother Dashang, while she herself quickly made for the old house. After her sister-in-law left, Chun Yang turned her head and glared at her daughter. This is an adult conversation. What are you, a child, chipping in for? What if one day Dashang regrets it and blames you for it? Yingbao, I'm not afraid of him feeling angry. And Dashang would never regret it. Spring Lady poked her daughter's forehead. You're still a child, what would you understand? Of all things in the world, relationships are the most unpredictable. Dashang had just gotten married, in case he couldn't let go of Miss Chu from the Chu family, and decided to take her home himself, it would surely put their own daughter in a difficult position. I'm already 4 years old, I know everything. Casually, Yingbao rubbed her forehead and giggled. The Spring Lady was left speechless. In the afternoon, Yingbao brought a bowl of bitter medicine to Jiang Cheng. She watched him drink the medicine and fall asleep, then she cheerfully headed back home. The new bride, Chu Men, hadn't left her room all day. Danny was the one taking food to her for both meals. The next afternoon, the Chu family finally sent people over. The ones who came were not the ones who escorted the bride, but 3 older gentlemen. The 3 first visited the injured Jiang Cheng. The young man lay motionless in bed, his head wrapped in thick gauze, his eyes black and blue, his face pale. It was a horrifying sight. One of the elders gently checked his pulse, gradually his expression turned grave. He shook his head at another elder, sighed, the young man is badly injured, Chuman really crossed a line. The white-bearded elder was furious, he stormed out of the room and bowed to Jiang and Zhou in the courtyard, we're truly sorry. It was my fault as I spoiled Chuman. I'll take her back home immediately to teach her a lesson. This divorce situation, however, I hope you'll reconsider. Jiang waved him off, Mr. Chu, it's not about reconsidering, it's about my son's life. We definitely cannot keep the bride. The stern expression on the white-bearded elder's face dissolved slightly, but he insisted, in that case, we'll take Chuman back with us. But let's keep the marriage tie between our families intact, since the wedding ceremony between your son and Chuman wasn't completed, how about substituting her with another bride? As soon as Jiang heard this, he immediately waved his hand, that won't work, it's totally inappropriate. Are they joking? They had barely managed to get rid of one problem, and now they might need to deal with another troublemaker. His family just can't afford it. The go-between, who had been standing off to the side, laughed. Mr. Chu's suggestion is good, Brother Jiang, you should agree. The Chu family has several eligible young ladies, all of good character and appearance. Zhou, who had been standing on the side, couldn't help but give the matchmaker a cold glare. This guy switched the 8 characters in Madame Shen the matchmaker's hands to Chu Man's and swore to the heavens that Chu Man was a fine-looking lady, came from a good family, and her father was a reputable village chief. Only then did they consider the marriage. If they believed him again now, they'd really have to be possessed. At that moment, Chu Man was called out. As soon as she saw the visitors, she ran over and started making a fuss. Grandfather, you've finally come. Whimper, whimper. The people in the Jiang family bully me, I want to go home. Enough. The white-bearded elder looked at her coldly, hands behind his back. Go pack your things, you're coming home with me. Upon hearing this, Chu Man immediately brightened up. She dashed back into the room with renewed energy to pack her belongings. She didn't want to stay in this place for even a day longer, ideally never having to return, ever. Chu Man packed carefully, not only filling a suitcase with her own clothes, but she also stuffed in the clothes and jewelry given to her by the Jiang family during the wedding. And then she looked around, found a few sets of Jiang Cheng's new clothes, and shoved those into her suitcase to take back home for her brother. Danny stood at the doorway and watched for a while, until she couldn't bear it any longer. Walking into the room, she snatched her brother's clothes out of the suitcase and told Chu Man coldly, "You may only take your own clothes. You cannot take my brother's." What this woman was up to was obvious even to a blind man. She was planning on taking everything in the room back to her parents' home. Snorting softly, Danny thought to herself, now that they had decided to divorce, there was no way they would let her do as she pleased. And these pieces of jewelry, bring them out too. Danny opened the red lacquer box and wrestled with Chu Man for the jewelry box. These were bought by my brother, you're not allowed to take them. Chapter 112, Chapter 112, Chapter 112, Chu Family Village. Chapter 112, Chapter 112, Chu Family Village. As they were wrestling for control, an elder of the Chu family walked over and roughly reprimanded Chu Man, "Can't you behave yourself for once?" If she continued to be wild, the Chu family might completely fall out with the Jiang family. As for mending relations between the two families, they would be fortunate enough if they just avoided becoming enemies. But Chu Man did not yield. She began to wail uncontrollably again, "Those are mine. All mine. I'm taking them all with me." The elder raised his hand and punished her with a fierce ear twist, "You don't need to take anything. Come back home with us now." Chu Man was smacked again, this time by the strictest clan elder in the Chu clan, which instantly frightened her into submission. She didn't dare to resist as the elder dragged her by the arm and walked out. "My dear kinsman, I will take this troublemaker home today. On another day, I will certainly come to apologize in person," the patriarch of the Chu family said to Jiang Cheng's father, cupping his hands in a gesture of respect, as he and Chu Man boarded the carriage. Carriages were rare in the countryside, and only a few could afford one. The patriarch did not utter a word along the journey, nor did he glance at his niece, who was huddled in the corner of the carriage. He just pretended to sleep. Chu village was about 10 miles from Chen village, and the quick carriage journey brought them there speedily. Like Chen village, the original Chu village had been split into 2 villages, Chu village, and Chu mountain village, as the population increased. But there were few newcomers to these 2 villages. The majority of residents were descendants of the Chu family. The carriage came straight to the main entrance of Chu village. The coachman first reined in the horses, then helped the patriarch and his 2 uncles dismount, and dragged Chu Man off the carriage. He didn't care whether she fell to the ground or not, he just hurriedly drove the carriage away. The first to rush out was Chu Man's mother, from the Sun family. On seeing her daughter lying on the ground, she rushed over to help her up. "My child, are you hurt?" Chu Man clung to her mother and sobbed, "Mother, the Jiang family bullied me, woo woo woo, they hit me." "What? They hit you?" Hearing that, Sun family's matriarch was heartbroken. She held her daughter up and shouted, "The Jiang family not only bullied us, but they were the first to complain about it. Let's go, we should go home and tell your father." The 2 women helped each other enter the courtyard, where the clan leader was standing with his back turned, lecturing the village leader. "You've spoiled an otherwise good child. I think you are getting more and more muddle-headed. I've brought Man back today. Restraining her from marrying into the Jiang family is done. I will choose a virtuous woman from the clan to marry the Jiang family's child. As the clan leader of the entire Chu family, no one dared to dispute his words. Upon hearing this, the village leader was displeased and said anxiously, "Uncle, this isn't right. If you do this, what will become of Man?" The patriarch responded, Man is only 16. In 2 years, we can find another family for her to marry into. As for the Jiang family, they should be glad they didn't file a complaint against Man. No, the village leader shook his head, it was just children playing around. Man is young, she doesn't know her own strength. How did it escalate to this level? One of the uncles scolded, "Shut up. That Jiang family child passed out and hasn't woken up, which means he has suffered serious head injuries. He could die at any moment, and you're still speaking like this. Aren't you afraid that the Jiang family will go after your daughter's life?" At this, the village leader's mouth hung open in shock. Sun family's matriarch, who was about to make a fuss, also beat a retreat, quickly leading her daughter inside the house. Man, tell me what happened. Why did you end up hitting Jiang Qing so hard? Sun family's matriarch asked softly. Chuman pouted, mumbling in a hush, he was disgusting, he even tried to take off my clothes. Sun family's matriarch darkened her face, didn't I tell you very clear at home? On the night of the wedding, you have to consummate the marriage. You. Chuman snorted, I don't want to consummate anything with him. Sun family's matriarch sighed. It was too late for anything now. If the engagement is to be called off, so be it. If that Jiang family boy does die, at least her daughter can get out, she won't have to take on the name of a widow. It was just a shame that the 80 betrothal gifts would probably have to be returned. Since the patriarch said he wanted to choose another girl to send over, these betrothal gifts would inevitably be given to that family. If her family didn't take out the same amount, it probably wouldn't suffice. In the yard, the clan leader scolded his nephew for a while, then returned home to talk with his 2 uncles. After taking a sip of tea to wet his throat, he asked his 2 cousins, "Have you selected someone for the matter of the Jiang family?" Both shook their heads. The clan leader said, "Regardless of family background, can't we pick a child based on their virtue? Older brother, is there really no one in your village?" His second uncle was a cousin of the clan leader. When they were young, they parted ways from the main family, unfortunately getting relegated to Chu Mountain Village. However, due to his older age, he and his 4th brother had become clan elders, and when anything big happened in the clan, they would discuss it together with the clan leader. "There is one, but how do I approach her?" The second uncle said, "She's a good girl, how can I knowingly push her into the fire pit?" "Who's throwing her into a fire pit?" The clan leader said, unsatisfied. "You are too short-sighted, elder brother second." The second uncle huffed angrily and kept sipping his tea. He and the 4th elder already disagreed with the idea of selecting another Chu girl to be sent over, but the clan leader persisted single-mindedly. The clan leader angrily said, "Who am I doing this for? All of you think I have gone senile, is that it?" He pulled out his hand that looked like a dried tree bark and slammed it on the table. "No wonder, our Chu family is getting worse with each generation, even the 2 of you have become muddle-headed." The 4th uncle couldn't resist speaking up, "Brother, it shouldn't be said like this, even if we do want to have a good relationship with the Jiang family and learn how to cultivate mushrooms, there is no need to sacrifice a girl from the Chu family for it." "What sacrifice?" "The Jiang family is prosperous with descendants and are booming with good fortune. Our Chu family's child marrying into their family means a lifetime of comfort." The clan leader resisted the urge to hit someone, and taught them something in a word-by-word manner. "No matter what you think, today, you must select a sharp and attractive girl for me, and I will send her to the Jiang family tomorrow." With these words, the clan leader even unceremoniously sent them away. "You 2, stop idly chatting and go prepare. If you can't handle this, you can postpone your grandchildren's schooling for next year." The 2 elders were driven out by the old clan leader. They looked at each other and sighed deeply. "Second brother, I think the daughter of that honest Chu family in your village is good. She is also 15 or 16 this year. Let's go with her." The 4th elder said casually. The second uncle shook his head, "No way, that child has a red birthmark on her forehead. Once the clan leader sees it, he will surely scold us for not doing our job, and the Jiang family surely wouldn't want a girl with a blemish. That would be like deliberately slapping their face. For elder said, although her forehead has a birthmark, it can be covered with her hair and couldn't be seen, and besides this point, the girl is outstanding in all aspects. I think she is the most suitable. Or, should we go to the Chu's honest family and ask a bit? All right. There seemed to be no other choice. The second uncle sighed, and he and the fourth uncle headed towards Chu Mountain Village. Chu Mountain Village was next to Chu Village, separated by a dirt road. Before long, the two old men arrived at the house of Chu the Honest. 3 shabby huts with straw roofs, along with a small stove room, as poor as most of the village households. It was spring planting time, and Chu the Honest seemed not to be at home. However, his youngest child, Ching, was squatting at the doorstep, playing with ants. Ching, where's your father? The second uncle asked as he approached. Chapter 113, Chapter 113, Chapter 113, Switching the Bride. Chapter 113, Chapter 113, Switching the Bride. 7-year-old Chu Ching stood up upon seeing his granduncle's question, promptly wiping his nose before answering, "My dad's out in the field. Is there something you need, granduncle?" The granduncle did not respond but looked over at his distant grandnephew before asking, "And where's your sister?" "My sister and my brother have gone to fetch water, they'll be back soon." As Chu Ching said this, he wiped his nose again. The granduncle furrowed his brows and turned to ask his cousin, "Shall we stick around to check?" "Of course." The fourth clan elder took a quick glance around, then picked a smooth large tree root to sit on. He wanted to see with his own eyes if this girl was indeed suitable. Chu Ching was a good boy. Noticing that the two elders were staying, he quickly went back inside the house to get a long bench for them to sit on. The fourth clan elder nodded and asked, "Your name is Ching, right? What's your sister's name?" "Chu Ching, my sister's name is Chu. Chu, a nice name. Did your father tell her about the potential mother-in-law?" the fourth clan elder continued to inquire. Chu Ching blinked, shaking his head in confusion. "I don't know." The fourth clan elder, "How old is your sister this year?" This Chu Ching knew. "My sister is 15. My dad said, after her birthday, he will go to town to buy fabric to make her a new dress." Fourth clan elder stroked his beard thoughtfully before asking another question. "Ching, you're 7 this year, right? Do you want to study?" Chu Ching met the gaze of his granduncle with a blank look. Just then, Chu and their younger brother came back with a big bucket of water. Seeing two clan elders sitting at their doorstep, they both paused with surprise. "Sister, you're back. The second granduncle was looking for you." Chu Ching cheerfully ran over to help carry the water bucket. Chu nodded to both clan elders, and with her younger brother, carried the water bucket into the kitchen. Only after that, she came out to pay her respects to the elders, second granduncle, fourth granduncle. The fourth clan elder noticed the girl conducted herself with composure and grace. He couldn't help but nod in approval. On her forehead was a small red birthmark, no larger than a fingertip, which could be easily covered by her fringe, barely noticeable. She had a beautiful face, clear eyes, and appeared sensible and considerate. The fourth elder was even more pleased. He stood up and said to Chu, "When your father comes back, tell him to visit the Chu family in the village. The clan leader has some matters to discuss with him." Chu was taken by surprise but didn't ask any question. She gently responded, "Okay, I'll let him know when he's back." The fourth clan elder, hands clasped behind his back, headed home and walked alongside his cousin, asking, "How many years have passed since Chu Laosher's wife passed away?" The second clan elder thought for a while, probably 4 or 5 years. Ching could barely walk then. Chu, that girl, had to take care of him while she did all the housework. "What's the story with that boy named Chu Yan in their house?" The fourth elder seemed more concerned about this. Everyone in the village knew that Chu Laosher's eldest son was not his biological child, but a burden brought to him by his second wife. The situation in Chu Laosher's home was complicated, which was why no matchmaker had visited their household even though Chu was a good 15-year-old girl. If Chu Yan is given Chu Laosher's surname, it means he recognizes Chu Laosher as his father. He is not like what the rumors have been saying, destined to be Chu's childhood betrothed. The second elder, aware of what his cousin was implying, explained everything to him. Chu was the child of Chu Laosher's first wife. After the first wife fell ill and passed on when Chu was 3, Chu Laosher went to work and brought back a woman refugee, who had a 5-year-old son named Chu Yan. The woman later bore a son for Chu Laosher and named him Chu Qing. Unfortunately, she fell ill and died when Chu Qing was around 2 years old. Since then, Chu Laosher became more silent and refused to remarry. The people in the village said it was because he is cursed and it affected his children, hence they did not have positive view of his family. The fourth elder nodded, as long as it's not like what the rumors say. He was also worried that Chu Laosher had already promised Chu to Chu Yan. If that were the case, it would seem like he was bullying them if he were to intervene. At the Jiang's residence in Dongchen village. After seeing off all the relatives, every member of the Jiang family looked utterly exhausted. Their own wedding event was nothing but a complete disaster. The groom was injured, the bride was taken away, and the bride's family refused to back out of the marriage, insisting on sending another girl over instead. What kind of situation is this? It's unheard of in history, completely baffling. Master Jiang and Madame Zhou were categorically against this bizarre suggestion. Danny had cleaned the items in her elder brother's bridal chamber, items brought by the bride's family. Not a single one was left as they were all moved into the side chamber, ready to be returned to the Chu family when they had time. This included the 2 red lacquered wood boxes from the bride's dowry, 2 beds, a dressing box, a potty, a wash basin, a footbath basin, and a bathing basin. Danny collected all the items that belonged to their family together, waiting to hand them over to her elder brother for verification once he awoke. Unexpectedly, before Jiang Qing woke up, someone from the Chu family came over again. This time, more than a dozen clansmen from the Chu family came, along with a few women. The most exasperating fact for the Jiang family was that they even brought a bridal sedan chair along. The bridal sedan chair stopped directly at the entrance of Master Jiang's new residence, and 2 unfamiliar matchmakers assisted a petite bride out of it. Master Jiang almost laughed out of annoyance. Clan leader Chu, what's the meaning of this? Clan leader Chu chuckled and said, my good son-in-law, this is the most exceptional child of my Chu family. She is of the right age for your son and her character and looks perfectly match him. He then turned to the veiled girl and called, Chu, come and greet your father and mother-in-law. The 2 matchmakers quickly supported the girl forward to bow. The young girl bowed obediently. Chu greets her parents. Madame Zhou was so angry that she turned around and went back to her room. Of course, she was not angry at the girl, but at the shamelessness of the Chu clan leader. They had clearly stated their intent to call off the marriage and refused to accept any substitute bride, but clan leader Chu still brought this girl over. Master Jiang also gritted his teeth and spoke solemnly, Clan leader Chu, are you exploiting your age and taking advantage of the fact that my Jiang family lacks members? Clan leader Chu said, what are you talking about? I'm doing this for the sake of making peace between our 2 families, that's why I picked an appropriate girl. Before Master Jiang could intervene, clan leader Chu continued, alas, if your family is really unwilling, why not let this child stay and take care of your son for now? When his health recovers, you can send her back home. This is our Chu family's way of apologizing. My good son-in-law, you need not refuse. Master Jiang immediately refused. What nonsense is that? My son has enough people to care for him. Clan leader Chu, there's no need for your concern. If you really feel guilty, you can return my son's marriage book and dowry. He didn't want to deal ambiguously with the Chu family any longer. Instead, he directly demanded the marriage book and dowry back. This time, clan leader Chu didn't say anything else and ordered his subordinates to bring the dowry and marriage book. He then respectfully handed them over. Here, we have a total of 150 taels of silver. 30 taels were given when the marriage was agreed, plus 80 taels as the dowry. I also changed some sundry items into silver to add up to 10 taels, and the remaining 30 taels are your son's medical expenses. Please look them over. Clan leader Chu's attitude was very humble, which made Master Jiang feel somewhat uncomfortable. After receiving the silver and marriage book, and confirming their correctness, he got Jiang Quan to take them into the house. Jiang Quan and Danny moved out all the items that Chuman had brought as her dowry, one by one, and handed them to clan leader Chu. Clan leader Chu didn't say anything else, just instructed his clansmen to take them and load them onto the cart, ready to take back. Afterwards, clan leader Chu bid his farewell, and Master Jiang did not ask him to stay. With the departure of the bridal sedan chair, and the horse and mule carts, the members of the Jiang family finally breathed a sigh of relief and went home one after another. Suddenly, they saw a petite girl standing at their front door. She was wearing a bright red dress. Isn't she the substitute bride brought by clan leader Chu? Why didn't you leave with them? Danny couldn't help but ask. Chapter 114, Chapter 114, Chapter 114, Help Me Out, Seeking Monthly Recommendations. Chapter 114, Chapter 114, Help Me Out, Seeking Monthly Recommendations. Chu lowered her head, saying softly, I can't go back. Danny curiously asked, why? Did they force you? Chu shook her head, if I go back, my younger brother won't be able to attend school. In fact, it was not just because of this. The old woman also said that if she stayed at home and didn't marry, her two younger brothers would not be able to find wives, so she had to stay. Danny. Come in. Uncle Jiang shouted from the courtyard, close the door. Danny shrunk her neck and hurriedly entered her courtyard, closing the gate. The girl left outside, her head hanging even lower. After a while, Chu looked up at the tightly closed gate of the Jiang family, sighed, and began to look around. It was a spacious place with only 3 households. But these 3 households were very affluent, their big houses were all built with green bricks and tiles, and even the courtyard walls were quite high, keeping whatever inside out of sight. Chu slowly turned and walked away, occasionally touching her new clothes and dress. Hitherto, it was her first time wearing such an exquisite new dress, and she felt quite happy within. If she wasn't being looked down upon, she would be happier. Seeing the hem of her dress almost dragging on the ground, Chu quickly gathered it up. She picked up her bundle from the corner, and sat behind a pile of straw, hugging her knees and lost in thought. She absolutely couldn't return home, not only for her brother's education but also for herself. The clan leader had told her, even if she couldn't become a daughter-in-law to the Jiang family, she mustn't disgrace the Chu family. He also mentioned that the Jiang family was full of kind people, and asked her to stay for a while. Maybe the Jiang family would accept her if they noticed her kindness. Chu sighed. The words of the clan leader were somewhat contradictory, putting her at a loss. In short, he wanted her to stay with the Jiang family to find an opportunity to restore the relationship between the 2 families. Chu lifted her head and suddenly noticed a 4 or 5-year-old child standing nearby, looking at her curiously. The baby girl was very pretty. She was dressed in a pink hue, with 2 little buns on her head, and a silver necklace around her neck. Her brows and eyes were peculiar, her skin was radiant and delicate, she was more beautiful than the children painted on the New Year pictures. Chu had never seen such a good-looking child before, and seemed to be taken aback. Why aren't you going home? Ing Bao asked the older sister hiding behind the straw, who appeared rather dazed and foolish. Chu shook her head, I don't want to go back. Ing Bao took a step forward and asked, what is your name? In her previous life, Deshang, her brother, had never cancelled a marriage, and the clan leader of the Chu family had never cast her aside. So, she was a little curious about who this unfamiliar girl was. My name is Chu. What's your name, little sister? Are you also a child of the Jiang family? Ing Bao nodded, kicking the mud that lay beneath her and asked, if you don't go home, where are you planning to sleep tonight? Chu thought for a moment and pointed to the straw pile behind her, can I sleep here? Children in the village often played hide and seek in the haystacks. She could dig a hole in the hay and squeeze inside the hole to sleep at night. Ing Bao shook her head, no, you can't sleep here. There are wolves at night. South Slope was isolated, without any other families nearby. Wild animals often roamed around at night, of which wolves were the most common. She often heard the howling of wolves at night. Chu was taken aback upon hearing this. She was somewhat at a loss, showing bewilderment in her eyes. Seeing the ingenuous look on the older girl, Ing Bao spun an idea in her mind and asked, are you sure you aren't planning on going home? She had been busy lately and was looking for some help. She wasn't sure if the girl in front of her could handle the tasks. Chu nodded, I can't go home. At least, not now. So, you want to marry my big brother, Deshang? Ing Bao asked. One don't know. Chu said, a bit embarrassed to be discussing such a thing with a child. Ing Bao didn't mince words. My big brother Dashang might not like you. I advise you to give up that idea. Chu lowered her head, her pretty face turning bright red. Before she consented to come, she expected that she would be discriminated against and despised, but it was still a bit awkward to be called out by a small child. But the fact was true. The Jiang family did not like her, and they did not even consider letting her stay. But even so, she couldn't go home now. Because the clan leader grandfather said, if it really can't work out, she needs to stay at the Jiang's place for at least 10 days before she could go home, or else in the future the clan wouldn't provide the fees required for her little brother to go to school. I didn't think about making your brother like me. I just can't go back. As Chu spoke, tears trickled down her cheeks. Seeing her cry, Ing Bao felt a little mercy. She stepped forward to comfort Chu. Don't cry, I was just telling the truth, I didn't mean to ridicule you. Chu nodded and wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I know. The two were silent for a moment, then Ing Bao asked, aren't your parents worried about you staying here? Chu shook her head. I don't have a mother, and my father, he should be worried, right? But when she was lifted onto the bridal sedan, her father did not show any expression. It was her little brother Chu Qing who cried, his face covered in snot bubbles. Her big brother, as usual, had the same expression as his father, showing no sadness or joy. Ing Bao understood that Chu was a poor child without a mother. Well then, if you don't mind, you can help me work, and I'll find a place for you to stay temporarily, and I will pay you. But you can't use this as an excuse to linger in my house, and you must not have any plans for my big brother Dashang, are you willing? Ing Bao asked. Chu blinked and nodded earnestly, okay, I'll help you work. Ing Bao nodded in satisfaction, then follow me. Chu stood up, picked up her bundle, and followed the little girl. Ing Bao led her to a straw house next to their vegetable garden. The house was built for future use, in case someone had to guard the vegetable garden. Because their vegetable garden often suffered from wild creatures, her father had someone build this straw house to facilitate its protection. You'll live here from now on. Ing Bao gestured toward the straw house. The house was not big, but it was fit to accommodate one person. The house had solid doors and windows and was very safe once locked from the inside. Chu was clearly pleased and immediately thanked Ing Bao. Thank you, little sister. Ing Bao pushed open the wooden door and asked her to look inside. The room was about 5 square meters, with a small bamboo bed and a table. As no one lived there, the bed and the table were covered in dust. Later, I'll bring you a quilt. At night, don't open the door for just anyone who calls, understand? Ing Bao instructed like a mature little adult. Yes, I understand. Chu was so happy that she walked around the room, touching here, touching there. Seeing that the girl had no objections, Ing Bao felt relieved and went home to tell her mother about her decision to keep Chu. Mother Chun didn't object much. She found an old quilt to give to Chu. She then gave Chu 2 unused ceramic jars and half a jar of rice for her to cook her own meals. Chu thanked Chun, thank you, auntie. From now on, if you have any chores, just let me know, I can do anything. Chun sighed, I don't have any work for you here, just listen to Bao, do whatever she tells you to do. She herself wasn't sure what her daughter was planning. Was it a good idea to keep this girl from the Chu family? Hopefully, she won't stick around the Jiang family, impacting Dashang's future match. But her daughter assured her that she would make Chu abandon this idea, work hard, ensure that she doesn't harbor other thoughts. Part 8 of the series ends here. Thank you for watching and listening. If you find it interesting, please give us a like, a comment and a subscription so that we have the motivation to make the next videos.